Okay, and we should be live. So I can't see the chat again, so this is going to be an interesting evening again. So hey everybody, how's everybody doing? Um, Hopefully, yeah. I don't know.
You can't see the chat because I see it on mine.
No, I could see the chat that's there. I can't see it when that's showing it
Oh,
on the stream, but yeah, I can see the stuff. So yeah, I think we're good. So yeah, and that works. So hey Ultra, how you doing? So yeah, so thanks everybody for coming. So today, yeah, not now that shows up on there. I don't know. Restream is weird sometimes. Anyway, hey everybody, welcome to the show. I am Game Master Roger. Today, I'm joined by Decado to my right, and below him is our special guest for today, Matthew Tapp of Barrows and Borderlands, and we're going to talk to him about his game and his game of games and the printing process, and we're going to see how many more books we can get him to print and all of that fun stuff. And and then next to him we got Mike Saxton of Thunderstruck Workshop, who joins us from time to time. No Jason today. I know that there's some of you that'll probably be disappointed because you like him better than me, but he's actually out of town for this week, so he will not be joining us. So there goes half our viewership probably. But so uh yeah, so what's new in gaming? What yeah, Edgelord. Edgelord's not happy. Yeah, he's gonna be gone. Thanks for coming, Edgelord.
He won't make it through the
Um
show.
what no, he won't. He won't. So what's been new in gaming, guys, this week? What I backed. I got to tell you, I backed more stuff than I should have on Kickstarter this week. Um, I backed. I just backed that Druskia
Oh yeah,
just Scara.
campaign,
Skara.
the dungeon damsel thing. I wasn't going to. I was going to wait until it came out, but then I started looking at it, and it's got like the whole world set up, and it's got the whole. Supposedly, you could jump into any point on it, and there's really good notes back and forth as to where to go. Like you don't need to read the whole thing in order to run it, and so there's a lot of stuff that's fleshed out. So I did that. I don't know whether that was a good idea or not, but I backed like the full shot
It looks good.
of that. Yeah,
It does look pretty good.
yeah,
I'm currently waiting on some of the things I've backed. I backed a Wrathy Sector by Castle Grief a couple months ago. I'm looking forward to that one. I think they just had an update saying it's probably going to deliver next month. So I always get wary about delivery dates. So I just try to forget that I backed it until like 6 months later.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I do too. And then it's like, I'll get a text message from the wife that's like, "There's this huge box out front, and it like weighs 50 pounds." And I'm like, "Oh, it's probably a Kickstarter, it's something." And then I'll open it up and be like, "Oh, what is it?" It's like Christmas. Like I have no idea.
Right.
Something that I backed, like 2 years prior or whatever. You guys did good though. I got to tell you, like you guys were on a pretty tight schedule.
Yeah.
I think, and you guys made it. I think on time or maybe a little after. You guys wanted it out by Christmas, but that wasn't the
Yeah, we had
due date,
said
right?
we'd ship by February, and then internally we were like we could try our best to get it out there before Christmas, and then about halfway through the month we were like, this is a lot of books. Okay, we'll just everybody don't say anything. We're still good on time, and then we managed to get it like a couple weeks earlier than we had said on Kickstarter, so that worked
Yeah.
out good. Which yeah, definitely overestimate what you think the time will be. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I see that a lot, and generally, well, now especially with a lot of it, I see is stuff that's other than printed stretch goals.
yeah,
Like anything that's if it's just, oh, we're going to add this character class, or we're going to add more art, or we're going to the book, generally that's fine.
right.
It's when like they start to add like dice. Oh, well, we'll send everybody dice. And then now all of a sudden you're trying to get that coordinated and done and taking time from the main project. And then now you're shipping dice or play mats or something that isn't technically a book. And now there's
Right.
restrictions and all sorts of issues. And then and then you see the stuff get delayed for forever. So
Yeah.
I mean, if I went through my list, I bet I've got a, I don't know if you know this, Matt. I have a problem with Kickstarter. It's like I've got this FOMO, and I just like have to back stuff. So, but yeah, and I've got a ton of stuff that I'm waiting on that's probably out. I've probably got 20 or 30 things that's out past a year at this point, which is crazy.
Yeah, I've got some I waited for quite a while on. I mean, there were some like the thing that gets me is whenever I back one and then I backed one when I was in high school, and then we stopped playing the game that it was associated with by the time it showed up, and I was like, I guess I have this now. But
I have
Yeah.
that problem with Kickstarters. I back things, and by the time they finally deliver, I'm no longer interested in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I try and be
same.
much more cautious about it nowadays. But so far, I mean, the ones that have been coming out, like the Arathi sector, this I can never say it right, the Druska or whatever one, that one,
Yeah.
and there was another one, I can't think of it right now, but it looked pretty interesting. It was the jousting system. What was that one called?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I
it's
backed that
escaping me.
too.
Full,
Um,
it's not full tilt.
yeah,
Yes,
full tilt. That's
full
what it
tilt.
is.
full tilt. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then usually, like, if McCrease does something, I like Axe quite a bit. So, it's funny. I told him when I met him at Arnicon, I said, "Man, I love using your books as reference stuff if they're doing campaigning." And he's talking to one of my players, Chance, and he's like, "Yeah, nobody plays Axe. They just play using some Axe stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, fair." But
I would run it like that would be, but I think I want to get him on the show. And so I've talked to him about coming on, and it's just a matter of working on a schedule. And Axe I think is fantastic. I think there's maybe too much there.
well,
I think it's too crunchy.
the crazy thing about Axe and what I've noticed with it is it's like just the core game itself is like, okay, here's BX with some different things.
Right.
It's really like those huge subsystems all over the place, which is what I wind up using it for, because most of them are compatible with any of the games I want to run. So, and yeah, McCrease is certainly, he's one of those like 1 in a million genius math guys. So
The math has to be perfect. Yeah.
it's crazy. I know whenever he did his like errata booklet or whatever, it was like, oh no, sorry guys, the price of oil was off by a gold or something.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
like that was the big mistake in
Right.
Axe was. But
Right. Yeah. No, I've got I got the wooden set with the wooden box, the
Oh,
sleeve
nice.
with the books and stuff in it. Yeah, I went a little crazy there. So, yeah, I got it. Yeah, that's the way to do it, Paul, is to buy it on eBay for half the price that the
there you go.
crazy Kickstarter backers that's definitely the way to do it. But yeah, Full Metal Tilt, I backed. That's Travis Fauber. I looked that up. So that ended or is that still going? No, that ended.
Yeah, I think it ended.
So yeah, definitely can't wait for that. I've got a bunch of those, a handful of those that are like the chainmail kind of jousting kind of copies. Even you even put that into your into Barrels and Borderlands, right?
Yeah, I use it. I use it for sword dueling and stuff, and so I change a couple things around, and it works quite well for that. I used to be I still haven't been in a while, but HEMA fencing and stuff. So
yeah,
works quite nicely for it. But yeah, I love, and we also use chainmail a lot in our mass combat scale, in our B&B games, and then I use it for like mercenaries because my players have a tendency to bring 60 mercenaries down into a dungeon and create just a trail in the hallway. They don't care how many encounters they wind up getting, but
Yeah, that's
yeah.
interesting. I generally don't allow my players to take like mercenaries into the dungeon with them.
Well, when they do stuff like that, it's like there's nothing really stopping them from hiring a bunch of guys that are willing to
Yeah.
do it. Now, I know mercenaries will be less likely to want to go down into a dungeon, so it's harder to do it. But we just had one guy, Brian, who he brought 60 guys down in the dungeon, and they created just a very long hall full of people. But yeah, Matt also brings. I do not bring about 60 mercenaries. That's not true. Maybe 30.
Maybe 30. Yeah, it's interesting. I've never like let my group do that because it calls out in some. I don't know what editions, right? I don't know if OD&D calls it out, but it says that mercenaries won't go in the dungeon.
Yeah.
In some, I think in basic anyway, it does.
Yeah, it calls it out there. In OD&D, it didn't, and when it is easier when you do like the chainmail because you're just rolling a handful of 6-sided dice down there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, and I use the mass combat scale even at the small scale instead of the man-to-man.
Okay.
So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you've got 60 dudes. We'll break this up like this. Just roll, I don't know, a bunch of D6s, and it takes all of 5 seconds. But
yeah.
We rarely use them in when we ran our AD&D games. We didn't use them much. Cast and Crusades, we didn't use them. Shadow Dark, those games, the power levels of the characters are high enough that as long as you have a regular sized group, you really don't need them. There'd be an occasion where we were always short a few players, and we've only got 3 players at the table, and what do you guys want to do? And they'd be like, let's hire some mercenaries, and but it wasn't a regular thing.
We've seen an uptick of it in our campaign because of the Arduin critical hit tables, and they've decided that they needed bodies between them and whatever's rolling dice. So, we just, those crit tables are crazy, but not to mention, for some reason I'm notorious for having deadly dungeons. It's not like I try to have them, but a lot of those mercenaries died of pit traps or spike traps or radioactive crystals sticking out of the walls. But
yeah, nice. I don't know. I don't mind like mercenaries and stuff. It just when we used to, when they go down in the dungeon, I think it's like the issue of it's overcrowded now at this point where you've got when you've got 6 players, 6 PCs going down a 10-foot or even a 5-foot hallway, like that's crowded and people can't get in and out of rooms to attack or whatever, doing something. And like, you're talking about bringing 60. I mean, that's just like, I think 90% of them can't do anything.
It's usually a problem that solves itself because, for every time they bring that many mercenaries down and then they see how much, like you said, it clogs up doorways. They're making a lot of noise, so they're getting like a 5 and 6 encounter chance instead of a 1 and 6. So it's like every turn something's coming towards them. Eventually, they leave them at home. That many of them, but I think the most recent one where he brought 60 with them, they were really trying to make sure they could get their characters up to this one room, but.
Right, so they just act as fodder basically to get to the to get the carry the players to where they needed to get to.
Yeah, pretty much. And Chance is right down there. He was in that game, so a lot of the monsters, you just mundane weapons. Oh well,
it doesn't do anything. Yeah.
I always treated it when they took mercenaries in and used them as fodder. Word got out very quick around town that do not go with these guys because you won't come back. And it was a detriment to them.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the guilds in my campaign are also ran by players. So it's not even a matter of like me trying to figure out if they're okay with it. It's you get a player that goes, you just killed 60 of my men by taking them with you. You can't have any more of my guys. You're done. So
that's something. And, yeah, I want to get into this, with you in the game and stuff, and that's something that I wish that I could do with more of my players. Now, I mean, you've got a way bigger game going on. I mean, you've got what, 200 players now?
I think we're getting close to 300 now, and then obviously they're not all running at once, but
sure,
yeah, it's a much bigger stock. So
yeah, I mean, I'm lucky if I get 5 or 6 people at the table, every week, and it's an ongoing thing. But I would love to be able to I only really have a couple players that are really, really into doing external stuff, the downtime stuff, or things like that, where they can run guilds, or to play the domain game there. And I would love to have a player that would say, "Hey, I'll take on this, this guild." Like I put one guy in charge of doing loans. Like I put him in charge of a bank, and I said, "Okay, here's an NPC. You've got 200,000 gold." And this is before we switched over to Shadow Dark, so it's like the monetary system is different now. But yeah, I said, here's 200,000 gold. Like your goal is to make money, right? Like you can loan out that money. And so he was loaning it out with interest to other players, and and it was awesome. And no, that was really cool. So
I'd say probably like 70% of the players don't get into it.
Yeah.
So, but the ones that do, because of just how many people there are, it at this point, like the economy of the world and most of the guilds are just ran by players, or if it's not ran by a player, a lot of the members are players. So
yeah, that's interesting. And I like I said, I'd love for like my home group to do that. I guess now when you started, did you have because you started playing just locally, right? With this,
yes,
I'd imagine at one point.
Yes,
And yeah, now you've said before that you started with 5th edition and then it didn't fit, so you kind of worked your way backwards, and then landed on OD&D. Was the game always Barrows and Borderlands? The kind of Gonzo post-apocalyptic type of thing, or
it's not. It wasn't always that, but it was always part of the same continuation, because we back in high school, the world that we had made back then, we called it Xanatos, and it was very loosely put together, but it's still there in the game today. We just do a whole multiversal travel thing, which gets used quite a bit as well. But and then like some of the core concepts of the game are still there from high school, but I didn't settle on the specific world until a couple years ago. For this setting, we've been through like 5 or 6 different settings that we frequently would go to, but this seems to be the most fun one for us because it also connects to the other ones. They kind of use it like a hub world.
Yeah, and you've mentioned that in other places too, where you just if a GM wants to run a game in a specific system, if they want to run a traveler game or whatever, they just open a portal somewhere, and then players in your game can just jump through.
Yes.
And then everything kind of translates to that system and then back again, I guess, right?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time, the referees and I, because we have like 10 referees that they'll run in the same world as me, and so we coordinate together and stuff. But then they also have their own worlds and whatever. But we spend a lot of our time making compatibility guides, or like, okay, here's how your character goes from Barrows and Borderlands to Call of Cthulhu, because they're trying to go and hunt eldritch monsters on Earth, so, and a lot of that winds up being quite simple at the end of the day, because it's like everything on your sheet, one way or another, is just telling you your percentage chance of doing something. So
yeah, right. So you have charts and stuff that I know you have some of the conversion guide in the Portal to Adventure, I think, right? And or online,
yeah.
I've even seen some Shadow Dark stuff, right?
Yeah, because a lot of times too, players will, because I always felt like we talked about Kickstarters earlier. People have been buying stuff for years, and a lot of this OSR stuff winds up being fairly compatible anyway.
Yeah.
So if people come to the table and they're like, hey, can I run this class from, or I really like the way fighters are done in Shadow Dark instead of the way that you do it. And I'm like, okay, you didn't hurt my feelings. So this is, just tweak this one number and you're good to go. And you can run a Shadow Dark fighter in Barrows and Borderlands. Or I know a few people play like the Hyperborea classes. I love Hyperborea a lot.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously Arduin. Arduin's probably the most set in stone compatibility guide that we put together. And that's, because we did the Kickstarter together. So we sat like weeks and weeks having talks about with George and Dave about, okay, well, how would we do this class and making sure that this works? And some things were fairly obvious, like, a Deodant Star Mage Rune Weaver is just too much to mix all three together. But yeah, we've got like Nebulith as well. So some people are running like Lamentations of Flame Princess classes. So, and yeah, some of them might wind up being more or less powerful than others based on the system. But yeah, the great equalizer are those Arduin critical hit tables.
Yeah, right. So you've got players you'll use, like you won't take a Shadow Dark player and convert it like a wizard and convert it to Barrows and Borderlands completely. Then you'll run it with the stats and keep like the spell casting.
Yeah,
like
as long as if that's something the player wants to do. If they want to convert over because they're like, oh wait, well, it's easier if I just run the one in the B&B book, then fine. I do have them roll the extra radiation resistance stat on their sheet, and then we use the modifiers from B&B. And that's just because I think Shadow Dark's like an 18 would be like a +4 or something or whatever it is there. Yeah. So we just switched to those
they're on the 5e,
even that out.
Yeah, the Shadow Dark uses the 5e attribute modifiers instead of the standard right. OSR ones, I guess. Yeah.
And then we do have like a standard hit point system that we started using. It's just in this campaign because, in the normal Barrows and Borderlands, it's, you just roll a hit dice and add it to your character when you level up. But we're using the Hargravian alternate hit point system. So no matter what you're playing, you get a lot of hit points up front, and you might get one when you level up. Or maybe you'll get like mages, they get 1 hit point every 3 level ups. So you'll have like your first level fighting man with like 20 something hit points, and then your 10th level fighting man with like 30 something hit points.
Okay.
So, and that's mainly because we do have a lot of like 10th and 8th level characters that travel with 1st through like 3rd level characters.
Yes, you don't want them to instantly get squished.
Yeah, and then in addition to that too, it's like the 10th level fighting man, he's getting stronger because of, his THAC0's going down. His fighting capabilities going up. So he doesn't really have to be like a bag of hit points at a certain point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's interesting. So it's fixed hit points. It's not random.
Yeah, it's fixed hit points. Now, part of it is random because you add some to your starting hit points from your constitution. Okay. But when you level up, it's a set number based on fighting type, clerical and half-caster types, and then mages.
Okay. Yeah, interesting.
So I've seen a few games doing that. That is interesting, where it's just instead of rolling every level, it's like Tales of Argosa is that way. Like you get your initial hit points, and then when you level up based on your class, you'll get some. I just got Baptism of Fire, and they did the same thing. Like you'll have your base, and then based on your class, you'll get this when you level up. So nobody becomes like a bag of hit points.
I see. I like that. I had not played with it until we got into the Kickstarter and we're doing the compatibility stuff. And I was like, we were trying to see, okay, well, what hit point system do we recommend when we mix the games together? Well, then we tested it out, and it works pretty good. I mean, the high level characters still feel high level, and then the low level characters, they're still. It's not like it's too much easier to survive. I mean, they survive maybe another hit or two unless a crit happens. But and it also makes it a lot easier when people are trying to schedule games together, because before we implemented it, you would have a lot of folks that were like, hey, you know, leave your first level character at home, you know, don't bring him. Or you would have a first level party getting together and somebody would be like, hey, I've got a 6th level character, can I join you? And they're like, you know, you've got a little too many hit points for us, you know.
Yeah. No, we've had that issue in my game. Before we switched to Shadow Dark, I was running Castles and Crusades, and we had and I've tried to run it with players having, you know, a stable of characters, and, you know, using like 1-to-1 time, and so, you know, so you'd have characters out on an adventure or whatever, but that kind of led to issues where we'd have the group of like higher level characters would get together and they'd go out, right? And then they'd be out for 2 weeks. And then so the following week, you know, they'd have their first or second level, you know, guys. But then one guy who didn't show up the previous week would be like, oh, I'm going to play my, you know, 9th level fighter. And it's like, you got a 9th level fighter going around with, you know, level 2 and 3 guys. And it's like, you know, he's just marching in front and just, you know, plowing through everything. It's just, yeah, I'll just kill it.
Yeah, with ours, we do wind up having like players having a stable of characters, but that's mainly just because of the 1-to-1 time. They're like, well, one of the things about it is like the starting area in the world, whenever people first join the campaign, it's like almost Diablo level, where in the same area as the town, there's a dungeon right there. So theoretically, you don't have to wind up getting time locked. You know, you don't have to really get deep into that when you're first starting out. But then you get like, okay, well, I'm going to send my character 2 months away on the other side of the world. And it's like, yeah, it's going to take you a while to get there. And then you wind up with like Fox Off RPG, who's in the campaign a lot. He's got like 17 characters in his stable. Wow. Now, granted, he gets into all the guild play and stuff. I call him the spreadsheet master. So, but then, you know, like the starting area town lets people who maybe don't want to get into all that complicated stuff. They can just, I've got a weekend in an hour, I can show up for a game to do a little dungeon, and they can do that there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I try. I had a lot of pushback. Now, obviously, it's different, right? When you're running online and you've got, you know, almost 300 people, and, you know, so, you know, I think 1-to-1 time is definitely like, you need that, otherwise you can't. You know, it makes it impossible, I would say, to keep track of, you know, time and everything. And have you done it on a small scale? I mean, that's what I've been trying to do. I'm just looking for.
Yeah, we did do it on a small scale, and so before I got this big allotment of characters or players, and we were in the world of Thurn, which I put out a little information on in the Radioactive Tougaloo free download, but we used it in that setting, but we did it a little different. So what wound up happening was, in the game, it would progress time forward, and then I would move the calendar up, keeping track of it. But then when we weren't at the table, a week would go by between our next weekly game. And that way, that it's just like every time we played, you knew that by the next session, you were going to have a week to do something with your character. So that was one way we did it there. I think it's, with a smaller group, it's just more important to, I say important, but I think it adds something fun to it to just track the calendar, at least, because then you can actually feel time passing in the game.
I've always been a big fan of you know, timekeeping and tracking and keeping like a calendar and, you know, knowing things. My issue and why I wanted to switch is I've had issues with campaigns in the past where you'll have 1 or 2 problems. You'll have the problem where, you know, the bad guy basically, like, he can't have a time limit because the players, well, I guess he can, right? But, you know, like the big bad evil necromancer is just going to keep, you know, doing bad things or whatever, the lich or whatever. And then, like, if the players are dilly-dallying and it takes them, months or whatever to do something, or, because they keep going back to town to rest or whatever. And, oh, we got to go dive over here, or we're going to go in this dungeon, and, we're going to go through 4 rooms and then sleep overnight and then do, 4 more rooms. And it's like, okay, now this bad guy's like waiting in his tower, and I know that's on me, right? I should just have him. But at some point, like, the bad guy's too powerful at that point, and he's just going to, kill everybody.
Yeah. So, yeah, if it were me, I would just start conquering the world.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things in our game are that the other players are the villains of other players.
Right.
So they're also beholden to the same stipulations that they are. Yeah, this is like, for example, Xerxes, one of the player characters, one of the older ones, he's like a 12th level magic user, but he does necromancy in the game, and he's the villain of a lot of people's characters because they're like, well, he's obviously evil. He's making sacrifices, and he has a skeleton army and a scary castle, so he's obviously the bad guy. But then him as a player, he's doing such big stuff in the world that he can only hop in every once in a while to do stuff with that character. So the necromancer is sort of held back a little bit time-wise. And we also, we do everything emergently. So I think that the biggest prep was building the initial starting point of the world, like where are the major things. And then after that, like, I don't do any sort of prep for what might happen. But recently we had a big battle. We had like I think 39 player characters showing up to defend this town that was being attacked by vampires. That totally was not my fault. I totally didn't give the vampire a magic item. Definitely wasn't me. But
yeah, sounds like it wasn't your fault. Yeah.
But we were defending the town there, and we had a talk right before the battle started, and we're like, yeah, we don't pull punches in this thing, so what's really going to happen here? And we had almost sort of co-signed, like, I guess instead of it being post-apocalyptic, it's going to be an apocalyptic game, because we were like, we brought all the strongest characters to the fight, and we're like, we might be rolling up to find out if we're like vampire fledglings in the next time we get together. But
yeah, Paul said to take the faction moves from the back of Worlds Without Number. That's actually a good idea. But how do you run something like that with like 30? Like you said, you had 39 player characters. Are they all online at the same time, or are you just getting orders?
Not all of them. I think in that battle we had like 10 or 11 of the players online. Some people signed their characters up as henchmen of other people's characters. So they were like, oh, you can hire my guy to come help you. Or we had some people that brought multiple of their characters from the stock that were members of the same guild and stuff like that. And then we had like 5,000 troops between all of us. But
yeah.
So how pissed do they get when somebody hires out their character and they come back and they're dead?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Yeah,
some people get more pissed than others. I think a lot of the benefit of this is I have a lot of really good sport characters or players. Mm-hmm. So it's full of a bunch of people that don't really name their characters until they reach like level 3. So they're like, sure, take my level 2 guy. He's on your side. Go right ahead. And if he dies, they'll laugh about it later. But are they space vampires?
Angel, yeah.
So, well, they were not space vampires, but we did have an alien on our side with a UFO. So that was good.
Nice. Yeah, we've it's interesting. I've got a couple players that one player in particular that will generally, when he makes a character, even if it's a level 0 character, a level 1 character, like he starts the entire backstory process and like his family life and like the whole like that, and it's like pump the brakes, like
yeah. Well, that's it for me. I don't get onto them as much, but I do warn them heavily. I'm like, look, dude, you can write a 6-page book report on your characters, where he's from and all that stuff. but it's not going to affect how much he dies. And I also tell him, it's like, I don't plan anything. So, none of that stuff's really going to come up necessarily unless you make something come up, but I do have some players that'll still, regardless of what I say, they'll make the backstory, but then they're also fairly good sports as well. Like I had one guy, he got so excited to show up to the in-person session, and he'd been working on this guy for a while. He's like, yeah, I wrote all this stuff for him. Well, he shows up and he dies immediately to just a giant spider in a dungeon with a save or die poison. And he's like, okay, time to start over.
But yeah.
I bet he didn't write that big backstory right away, did he?
No, he did not.
I have a player that's been around with me for 30 years. That's that kind of guy. But he's we've had this discussion a million times, and he's like, I don't care. He goes, if I die in the first thing, he goes, I just like writing the stuff. I'm like, okay. Yeah. I go, you just can't get upset if it happens.
Well, I see it similar to like whenever I go and I write up like a dungeon location, or I'll write a bunch of history for some city somewhere, and nobody is ever going to ask about it. Like half the fun was writing it up.
But, yeah.
That same guy is running a game right now, and we're not playing together right now. He's running his own game, and he had, we still talk all the time. And he was like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing up a whole map of the world. And I'm like, I go, Sean, don't. He's playing second edition, so they're not using hex crawling rules or any of this stuff. I go, I'll tell you right now, something I've learned after all these years, that map is only for you. The players don't give a shit. Nobody at your table cares except for you, the DM. So if you want to do it and do it for yourself, go ahead. But do not expect the players to care one bit.
Yeah.
They just want to get in and roll dice.
Depends on your players too. My guys, like I have one player that, because I don't have like really good maps of my homebrew world. That's one of the failings I have. But I have one of my players, like he tracks that stuff. Like he probably has better maps than I do, because he'll draw the maps. And my guys use different degrees like backstory. I mean, I did run one campaign where the bulk of the campaign was their backstory. Each backstory was pretty much an arc in the campaign. And I mean, would I do that for not every game, but that game I did, and it was really good because there was a lot of investment by them to want to see that stuff get done, see it through. And so that worked pretty well. Where it didn't work was with scheduling, because it was an all in-person game. So it was really tough with scheduling, because you wanted everybody to be there for those sessions, and when they couldn't make it, we'd put off the game. So my current campaign, we still do that to some regard, but the group's pretty much been pared down to like, these are the guys that are here every session, and we focus on them. But we still don't do like a lot of personal arcs. There is some, but not like it was before.
We also wind up doing a lot of solo play in the campaign, so they do get into the map a little bit, because I don't know if any of you've seen some of my posts recently, but I've been drawing the greater map of the continent just to get it on a board. But we use the outdoor survival traveling rules, and so I just sort of made this 2.7 million square mile outdoor survival board. So when they're doing their solo play, they can just play it on the board.
So that's it's been a while. I do have the outdoor survival. It's right there.
Of course you do.
See that, but
back in there.
I know.
Yeah,
there you go.
There.
So from what I recall, right, because it's been a while since that box has been open, but you roll a d6, right, and that's like the number of hexes you can move based on.
If you're using the core board game rules, yes, you would roll a d6, and based on the scenario you're playing, it'd tell you how much and which directions you could move. Now, when we use it in Barrows and Borderlands, we do it the OD&D way, where you just have a set amount of movement per day based on what you are, and then the outdoor survival stuff comes in when it comes to like rolling daily encounters versus your lost check. So if you get lost, it'll send you in a random direction on the board for a space or two, and then you can readjust. Now, I also changed everything to a grid instead of a hex map, and that's something that was a little point of contentious with some folks early on, but it
is with me.
I was convinced on the grid map being better.
Really?
Yeah. Somebody got me. No, trust me. I was like,
thanks for coming.
Next is for the win. Yeah, I know. Well, they got me with the first one. They're like, you can do all the cardinal directions on a grid. So, and then they were like, oh, I asked them. I said, well, what about diagonal? It's different. And they said, well, you just multiply your movement by 1.5, and it evens out. So
I got a question.
Agree to disagree.
I got a question for you about Battles in Borderlands. Explain to me the roll to cast system, because I was kind of glancing at your preview stuff, looking it over, and just marveling at how complicated it looked compared to, say, Shadow Dark's ultra simple system.
Yeah, so the one we use is based on the 3rd edition chainmail casting system mixed with critical miscast table. So the way it works is, if you're a magic user, you want to go cast a spell, you just look at your level versus the level of the spell, and there's a number you have to beat with 2d6. And if you get one less than what you were supposed to beat, then it just is delayed a round.
The delay, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then to get less than that, you just lose the spell for the day. And then if you get snake eyes, you roll on a critical miscast table where maybe your bones disappear, or you might even level up accidentally by casting or by miscasting. But
now, is there an effect if you critical roll on it? Well,
yeah, if you get in the Men and Mutants combat section, there's like the basic critical hit chart for fighting, and there's a section on there that talks about, optionally you can use, if you get boxcars like a 12 on 2d6, then you can roll on that chart and it'll be either 1, 2, or 3 times as effective. Gotcha. So like if you did a healing spell, you might get like 3 times effective, so it's like a 3d8 cure light wounds instead. But I use that in our game, but I just put in there as an optional rule because I was like, hey, maybe not everybody wants to do that.
Yeah. But so what's the standard rule? Is it just Vancian casting?
No, I mean the standard rule is not doing the critical success with it.
It's just roll to cast.
Yeah, the roll to cast. What I found is, because a lot of my players are either brand new to role-playing games, the in-person folks that show up, either that or they've never played D&D specifically, so they don't understand the Vancian stuff. And I found it much easier to explain, like when you do something, just roll those dice and you got to beat that number. Now we also allow Vancian magic in the game, and we also allow mana casting system. So there's a lot of different types of spellcasters in the world. Like with Arduin uses like mana points and stuff. So in the compatibility guide, we worked in, like, when you make your character, you're either doing roll to cast, so you're more of a wild mage, or you're doing Vancian, like what's in the Tonisborg book, or you'll just do the mana casting if you really like math. It's like mana casting can get kind of cool because the way Hargrave wrote it out, you could do like percentages of mana points to do certain things. Like, I can spend half the mana to do the spell, but it won't be as powerful. Or I can spend more mana and it'll be more powerful. So there's a little bit of math involved with that. Only a couple players pick it, but the ones that do, usually they picked it for the math. Like, they just love the math. But and then the psionics rules in B&B are also a different casting system.
Interesting. So what do you do for psionics then?
So for those, I use a 1d6 method. So there was a blog and then a couple videos back in the day that everybody was trying to like redo the psionics rules and stuff. And I think it was Daniel Norton with the Bandits Keep channel or whatever. I saw him talking about one blog he'd found for somebody doing like the Shadow Dark D6, what they do for their thief skills. And I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. And so I expanded on it and played around with it, and then I was like, well, I want that, but I also want like the rock paper scissors psychic dueling. So in B&B you have a certain amount of points of investment towards a psychic power of whatever it is, and you have to roll a d6 under that many points to cast whatever it is. And then when two psychics get together, it's a little bit like the jousting stuff from OD&D or from Chainmail, where I pick an attack and you pick a defense, and you also pick an attack and I'll pick a defense. So it's rock paper scissors basically.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, I tried to keep it simple because I did want that sort of like Scanners psychic guy running around the Borderlands, and but I wasn't a super big fan of the original psionics rules.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. No, the game definitely sounds like a blast. I definitely want to try and run it. At some point, when I have time, life.
Yeah, no, trust me, I understand.
And yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that's the only way it keeps going is because of how many referees we have. Because otherwise, I'd have to be on there every single night running something. I've made it a little bit better though with the starting area dungeon, because now that I've got like a few levels of that dungeon just done, I know that when I show up, I can just do that for most of those players.
Yeah. And does that dungeon like auto repopulate, or like,
I repopulate it myself? Work? So I built out a system for populating rooms and stuff, and I take all my notes now in Obsidian, so I was able to get all my charts in there and everything. So after a certain amount of time, the rooms will get repopulated with monsters, and maybe those monsters will bring some treasure with them. Who knows? And then the whole dungeon's like, we were running it earlier today, but this is like level 1.
Oh, it was
fun to draw out. As of now, we've got 5 levels of it, but I think it's at a little over 1,000 rooms so far.
Wow, yeah.
But
that's crazy. Yeah,
it makes my prep just like nothing though, because I say my prep nothing. I guess I did all that, but the when I show up, I can just kind of run it without thinking too much.
I was looking at those maps last night. I found it interesting. I like the way you use the black space in between where the two papers form. Like every one of your maps had that.
Yeah,
it's a good way to handle the overlap.
Yeah, I had I think it was dungeon level 5. I was putting some rooms in there, but I also was like, I could fill them in because I scanned them, I printed them out, so I had space. I could put something there, but it also kind of mentally separates the level because it's so big. It's like level 1A and level 1B, kind of like going over there. But and I like to do a lot of kind of crazy stuff with my dungeons, but I used to be a big physics nerd, so I like playing around with like time dilation traps and stuff like that, and gravity traps. But
cool. So the dungeon's big enough where even like, how to say this right, like, so like when you bring a group through it, and like they're not going to clear all of it, so there's still spots. So the repop, I was thinking it was smaller, so repopulating it, like it would have to repopulate every time somebody was going to go in there, but I guess being big enough, it doesn't
it doesn't really affect too much. I mean, we have it runs twice a week, at least for me, and then like the area in town has another dungeon that's sort of like a changing dungeon. It's basically an excuse for another referee can put whatever dungeon they want to run, or if somebody wants to solo play a dungeon, they can do it in there because it'll just
be do it right there. Okay.
And then I don't think I think one group has touched the second level, but they were only in one room and they left. So, and it's been running for a little while now, but there's a lot there. I don't even think they've gotten to the other side of level 1 yet, as far as exploring it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Do you exclusively like run that level and then Like what kind of do you do, like collaboration with the other guys that are game mastering for you, or?
So when it comes to the dungeons, the referees usually keep them to themselves because a lot of times we'll play those dungeons with those referees. Now we do have some dungeons that are like, we might get together on one. I actually had some of the referees made some of the sub levels of this dungeon, and but when it comes to like the open world, we all kind of collaborate on that. We do a lot of note taking, and like Google Forms are like our best friend on the server. So after every game, the referee is like, these 3 people played, and in 30 words or less, what happened, and how much XP they get. And then, if it takes a little bit more explaining than that, then we'll have like a call, and maybe we'll take a little bit nicer notes or something. But it usually works.
Yeah, I helped run a couple West Marches campaigns at our local game store, and that was probably the most fun I had. Was we would have these weekly. I mean, it was an in-person game, so we would have these weekly game master meetings, and we were just each of us had like a different area, but we were working towards like a big combined effort as far as like what the main goal was, like defeat whatever the big bad was. And that was so much fun though, like to sit there and just spitball with other guys about, and then because a lot of times they'd suggest something we didn't think of and be like, oh crap, well then it's sending in a whole new direction, which was super fun.
It is a lot of fun. We have a lot of the times we'll hop on there after games and stuff and just spend the next 3 hours just talking about some cool thing we thought of for this part of the map or something. And then in the starting area too, because we've got so many referees running their own little areas, we put like a little transportation service. So people that are brand new to the server, it's like, okay, you can play the Tuesday game with the dungeon, or you can go over and then by Saturday you can go make it to Chance's game where he's running the city of Kars, or Brian was the one running the village of Baleon that is no longer there because of those vampires. So now he's running something in a different area. But I think it's the Onyx Spire. It's pretty cool. But it does wind up a little bit feeling like an MMO video game a lot. So, which you'll see the different referee styles. It kind of fluctuates. I run my games fairly procedurally. I mean, I get really into the cool stuff that's happening like right here, but because the stable of characters changes so much with who's available on what day, there's only so much I can if you've shown up to 3 sessions the past month with your cleric, am I going to remember him?
Yeah, right.
And then Chance, his Kars games are they're basically murder mysteries every week in the city. They're all just, it didn't take us long to catch on. They're all just Columbo episodes. That's what we're noticing.
Yeah, cool.
So, especially because all the art that he puts on there is just like pictures of Columbo in some weird situation. But, but the MMO aspect is something that we kind of started embracing because it started making certain things click in our heads. Like with guilds, for example, where the players will try and form guilds because in Barrows and Borderlands, you level up faster if you're a member of a guild.
Okay.
So when you reach your XP threshold, like, okay, now I am available to be level 2. In the base game, you got to spend a couple, sometimes a couple weeks training your character. Like he's got to go off and prep himself for the next level. But if he's a member of a guild, they have masters that can teach you faster. And it's like, you might go from, I can't play for a week and a half to, I can play in 3 days because I'm in this 5-star guild.
Yeah.
But that's another incentive to getting them into that guild play stuff.
Yeah. That's interesting. So what was the you would run this in person at one point?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's right.
A while back.
That's what we were on.
Yeah, no,
a while ago.
We jump around topics stuff. But no, I'm just curious of how it went from running in person to switching to Discord or running it online.
Yeah, so when by the time we were running in the second campaign, World of Thurn, this was back before I was inviting a bunch of outside folks to come join us.
So this is just like your home game.
Yeah, it started as just the home game, and then eventually we were starting to migrate more to this post-apocalyptic setting and stuff, and then we had a talk. We'd been doing the one-to-one time stuff and adding more stuff to the game, and I was like, maybe we'll go to the local game store and see if folks would be interested in doing this, because I know they only have there's a guy down there that runs a 5e and somebody that runs a Pathfinder game, so there's no old school games running right now down there. So I made like a cruddy little poster of I replaced the guy on the OD&D cover with my face, and I was like, come play old school D&D with me. And then next thing you know, we had like 20 people at the table, and then it started getting bigger and bigger. And then I've had the Discord for a while from when we were running our old campaigns, but I just morphed it around. I was like, here, you guys can, this is easier than you texting me what your character's doing during downtime. And then they eventually convinced me to publish the rules that we were using at the table. And so I was like, okay. And then one thing led to another, and we wound up with 200 something players. So
wow. So when did you decide to publish? It was not that long ago, right?
Yeah, I think it was a little over a year ago when I published. And we'd been playing it for a little while before that, obviously, but the rules had always sort of changed around as we got more old school, and we got used to it, so we were comfortable changing things and morphing around. And I used to be, whenever I'd show up to a session, I'd have like 30 game books at the table, because it's like, oh, well, maybe I really like the saving throws like in Hyperborea, but okay, well, I like the thief skills like in Lamentations, so I'd have to have both of them. And then of course I got to have the OD&D stuff, and that was another thing that led to B&B is like, man, I wanted a box set to play with. So originally the box set was just going to be I was going to make 30 of them for the local guys at the game store.
Yeah.
And there were going to be like 5 of them on the shelf at the game store. And then I took a couple of them with me to Dave Con, and because I published PDF, I was going to do that. But then when I brought it up there with me, they were like, oh, I'll buy one. And I'm like, oh, okay. How many? I was making the boxes by hand too. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I can keep up with all that. So next thing you know, I'm ordering hundreds of boxes from a packing company, and begging my fiance to let me use the savings account.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, crazy. And I saw some of the operation there on some of the other live streams and seeing stuff going, and that's just crazy. Yeah, there you go. And I mean, I've done some like booklet printing, and nowhere near on the scale that you've done. Just with printer paper, print the stuff, fold it, staple it, and then cut it, and I mean, I was cutting it with 2 boards clamped together and then using a razor, to cut the end off.
That's how the first printing was.
Yeah. And then, my press is just, a stack of D&D books. As you can tell, my shelf is full of books. So you just take a stack and, pile it on.
The first time I got a press was during the Kickstarter, when we were like, the Arduin books are way too thick for me to just use my fingers and put some books on top.
Yeah.
I mean, I started with, the first printing of B&B was done on a $15 printer that I bought from the Goodwill down the street. And then
nice.
The paper cutter was like, I had this guillotine one that my grandpa had, and then that wasn't really working. So like some of the first books I had to like run to the local Staples and be like, can you please how much to like cut this stack of books I have. And then the first printing did quite well. I mean, I say quite well. I sold like 30 something of them, more than expected. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I used that to get the first of the printers. And then from there, it was just like, okay, now I can convince my fiance to let me buy a bunch of these boxes for a lot of money. And it, just trust me, it'll be okay. But,
well, the demand was definitely there. I mean, obviously if you made 30 copies and then, they sold out instantly, basically. I mean, that's pretty good.
I've had to order 2 rounds of the boxes from the packing company so far. And I was saying earlier, I've got a little bit of the boxes left right now. And I haven't fully decided if I'm going to order another round or if I'm going to try and push more towards the book, the print on demand book. Because, I mean, obviously, print on demand book, I don't have to print it. So that certainly helps.
Yeah. Do you have just is it just this one that's the POD, or do you have the single booklets available as well?
I just have this one. I'm working at trying to get the single ones available. The issue is I'm a real stickler when it comes to the paper for it. So I wanted it to have like that parchment texture. And then I use the linen paper on the inside and all this other.
Yeah.
It's
bravo on that. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Like Lulu, for example, if the page counts over a certain amount, they will not saddle stitch it with the staple.
Right.
So, of course, they won't do it for Barrows and Borderlands. So it's been kind of like a head scratcher trying to find a place to print it. I know on X, the Troll Lord Games guys, commented under it saying I should hit them up. So that might be a good idea too. I know they've got a big printing facility.
They do. They do all their soft covers in house. I don't know if they do saddle stitch.
Well, remember they haven't built their new building yet, and they're still.
Well, they sold the land.
Yeah,
they sold the land, and they're going to work on that again.
So I don't know what they've got up and running. There's certain things they do in house, and certain things they don't.
Right.
Yeah. So
I
know
they
can do the glue. What do they call it? The perfect binding.
Perfect binding.
They can do that.
I do like the perfect binding sometimes. The other thing too is like I know that there are certain bigger printing companies where I could sit there and be like, hey, I want this, this, and this, and they could do it. But then with 4 booklets in a box set, most of the minimum orders would be like, okay, normally you'd have to just 500 minimum order. Well, it's 500 times 4 because each one's its own book. So that gets a little hard to do sometimes too.
So I got a question. Other than the nostalgia factor of it, do you find that the booklets are more usable than having the hardcover with it all in one?
It depends on how you're playing it. So whenever I'm at my in-person table, I love having the booklets because I can, if you're playing the mage, I can just hand you the spell book.
Right.
And then the guy who really doesn't understand the combat, I can hand him like the core rules and be like, here, you can have the charts ready. And so I can split it up. When I'm running online, I wind up using the hardback more often because I'm not passing books around the table and I'm just on my computer desk.
Yeah. See, I would think online that just a bookmark PDF might even be the easiest way because you can get anywhere fast.
Yeah, I use Obsidian's pretty good for that too. I've been getting, like I said earlier, more and more into it. My players kind of pick on me because I'm not like a Luddite or anything, but I have a rough time having multiple PDFs open, trying to run things and in like virtual tabletops. I don't really use them that much. So we've started using TL Draw, which is basically just a whiteboard online because I don't have to set up any of the weird tokens or anything. It's just here you can doodle with a little marker on the website. But anyway, I'm getting more into using the PDFs with Obsidian because I can have like my note tab and that in the same window.
Yeah.
So that certainly helps.
See, I only run in-person games And I have to have physical books at my table. I don't use, like, my laptop. The laptop sits off to the side during Shadow Dark just so I can Chromecast the torch timer to the TV on the wall. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't use it. But I have to have PDFs of everything because I put them all on Dropbox, and then I used the Adobe Acrobat app on my iPad. And every night I go up and I lay in bed and, I'll pull up stuff and read it on my iPad, so I've got to have the, I find the PDFs are great for that. I can't lay in bed and at midnight when my wife's got to work in the morning, sitting there with a light on, reading a book,
a lamp over your head.
Yeah.
I all the PDFs come with every version of B&B. So if you get the box set or the book or just PDFs alone, they all have the PDFs. And then one of the PDFs is it's the single volume PDF. All I did was just put the PDFs together, so you don't have to have 4 PDFs open at once. But that also works out good too, because with them separated, I can, like I said, I can send just the spell book to the guy playing the mage. So, and then as we're adding more stuff, because I did Radioactive Boogaloo and then Radioactive Tougaloo, which I just put out there, which adds another like almost 200 pages to the game. It almost doubles the game again. And a lot of that's like hex locations, character classes and races and stuff. And then like campaign musings about, like we were talking about tonight, of how I actually set this stuff up and run it. But anyway, I just moved Radioactive Boogaloo to print and the Dracula in Space Adventure module. And then Tougaloo is going to come along. Eventually I'm going to have like 6 or 7 different things I have to print at a time. So that's one of those where I'm like, I think I'd really like to have someone else do the printing for me.
So you're still printing then? You still have this stuff for order? The Radioactive Boogaloo and Tougaloo?
Yeah. And I'm gonna keep them going until I figure it out. I'm not gonna shut people down on it. But
are you doing it like making them to order at this point, or are you staying ahead?
Yeah. I what I do is I make them in sets, so I'll print a few of them, and then that way it gets me for a little while. And then if I get a bunch all at once, maybe I have to spend an extra day catching up to them. But and then like with the stuff we just did with the Kickstarter, I have some of those left over on the site. Now those I won't be printing again, like with the Arduin and the B&B all together in the purple box.
Yeah.
I only have a few of them. So, and that was kind of the plan anyway, because it wasn't like, it was a limited edition kind of thing.
So this one, you can't get anymore?
You can still get that one. I've still got some of those left as well. And this comes with the Radioactive Boogaloo and the Dracula in Space in it, as well as the core game. So I think it winds up, which by the way, Radioactive Boogaloo's, if it's just the PDF, is free. The only time you pay is, obviously if I have to go print it. But it winds up being cheaper, I think, than buying all of it all together. So, but all that's on the website right now. And it's also where I keep all the like campaign resources that we have. So we just added like a little character creator thing, which sort of works. And then, it's like kind of. We made it compatible with like the Portal to Adventure stuff, but like you got to go like check the book to see what your class features are and stuff like that. But it'll roll your stats and tell you what you need to go look up and stuff like that. But yeah, as far as I have mostly the normal box set, and then I've got the next thing after that is I've got a few of the special edition B&B boxes. And the thing I have the least of is the big purple boxes. But and they also all of them have all the what's it called, the stretch goal stuff in them too. So But
yeah, I know those are running low. I don't know. And even George and Dave said they only had a few left, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know like when it came down to it, we thought, okay, well, we're gonna have a few extra of these, and then obviously a lot of people backed the Kickstarter, which was super awesome. But obviously not selling a couple of them ever. So
yeah,
like the one up there on the shelf will probably be on that shelf forever. And then I one to play with. It was a fun project. I know, there might be stuff that George, Dave, and I work on in the future too, but as far as like those booklets, it's kind of it for those. Whatever's left.
Yeah, right. I'm glad I got in on on that, when I did the full Portal to Adventure thing. I mean, it was really cool. And it's really great to see that you handprint everything. I mean, generally the Kickstarter stuff, and I know it's like it takes a toll, right? Like, it's probably more work than you imagine, but it's really cool to have, right? Because I've got like these books, and then the ones from the from the Kickstarter, right? And it's like they're kind of a one of a kind that, because they're handmade.
Yeah.
Like there's like I don't know how many Kickstarters are out there, or how many like RPGs just see out there that they just go to drive through, right? And then it's all print on demand stuff. And so it's all it's all this, right? So not that this is bad, right? I mean, this is
right. Yeah, but
kind of what we're
I'm in complete agreement with you. I love that's why I did it in the first place, was I wanted to play with my set at home. And I feel like it does add something. I mean, when somebody comes at the local game store and I pull out the little wood grain box set, and I can be like, hey, come play this old, it feels like an old game. So there's a vibe to it,
Yeah.
But and I do enjoy making them. It's just I guess I will continue making them until someone can make them just as good for less time. So
yeah. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, right.
I know. I think the Basic Expert was making the white box.
Yeah.
Stuff. And now I thought that he had found someone to print. So I know he was doing print on demand, and they're not they're perfect binding books. But I thought he had somebody printing the Saddle Stitch books. But then I saw a post of his on X, I think, that said that he bought a machine so he could do it himself. So I don't know. I think it's a folding machine or whatever he said.
Yeah, I saw the post. I think it's a cool idea. I mean, that's the hobby of printing is also a lot of fun. So I get excited when I see other people getting into it and stuff. But I think he was doing that. So he's making like a limited couple that I think what he did is he had fun trying to print them. And then he was like, okay, well, I'm gonna make a little limited set of the ones I printed here.
Yeah.
I reached out too. And because there were a lot of things that I did wrong when I first was trying to get them printed. I was like, don't get this. don't waste your time with that, or do waste your time with this. Like the paper cutter. He did get like the right one. That one he had the picture of, that huge where it comes straight down. Because those big guillotine angular ones,
they only cut so many pages, and right.
Did you have to make your own boxes, or did you find boxes sized?
So for the first printing, I did have to make my own boxes. I eventually managed to get packing company to make them the size and also with that texture. Yeah. But like the first printing, this is one of my last copies of the first printing of it. Was just I ordered boards offline with tape, and then I used like wrapping vinyl stuff to make it have the wood grain texture. And then now these are certainly not as good as is that an original one?
It is not an original one, especially in the condition this is in. It would be amazing if it was, but No, I've mentioned this to Roger, and I haven't shown it to you. So this was back. Yeah, I don't want to see your original. I don't.
No,
care.
I'm going to pull my original just to.
I don't care. Back in the day, before I got into 3D printing and everything, everybody knows who DM Scotty is.
Mm-hmm.
I was on there, and we were handcrafting stuff. And there was a girl on there I used to talk to all the time, and she had just gotten into 3D printing too. So we were like, sharing tips and stuff, and she was making some STLs, and we were trading stuff around. And she made one of these for herself. And I was like looking at the pictures, and I'm like, it is so freaking cool. Well, she, the reason I asked about the boxes, because she made the boxes. I mean, these things, you wouldn't know this was handmade the way they are. And of course, the whole thing is covered with a full label that's printed. And then, of course, the booklets.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did the same thing with the wood grain stuff. I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, looks great
to bring out to the table. But I mean, yeah, that was also part of how I got into the printing stuff, was because I had like the Wizard of the Coast version of them, but I really wanted them to be in the cool looking box and everything, and it's part of it. But yeah, I know with the first printing, you could definitely tell that my first printing were made by hand. There was no doubt about it. And since it was like 30 something people that got them, pretty much everybody that got the first printing, every time I've run into them again, I've also given them second printing, because the boxes for these are so much nicer. I was like, I can't let you just, you put that one on a shelf, take this one. The box is better. But no, it was fun the first 5 times I built the box myself.
It's like a sense of accomplishment.
Do you still have blank?
Right?
Do you still have blank wood grain boxes?
I do.
Oh boy.
I don't put the stickers on until I ship them. Now those are the things that are currently my low stock thing.
Yeah.
Because I could always get more paper, but when it comes to the tan paper that we used in the Kickstarter, my printer hates it. It's so thick that running it through. That's one of the.
What was the weight?
The covers.
What was the weight of it?
It was the parchment brown covers like we did for the Arduino reprints. The printer hates.
Yeah,
that.
that's
it
these.
Was,
I had 100 weight paper that my printer absolutely hated.
That.
It would streak. It would cause problems. There would be faded spots in it. I just bought some tan cardstock paper that's higher quality stuff, and it's only 65 pounds, and I was told it should print perfectly. So we'll see. I like the heavier stuff, but especially home printers do not like it.
Yeah, they do not. And I mean, I had maybe so like with the Kickstarter, there were a total of 3,300 books. So I had to, because of how thick it was, I basically had to load them in at like 1 to 3 sheets at a time until it was done. So I was in here for,
hours a day,
literally. Every day. And then the inner paper, I mean, Arduino's no small book set. It's 300 pages, and B&B is like 211. But then with the Radioactive Boogaloo, both of them, and Dracula in Space, now it's like all together like 700 pages of stuff. But I enjoy printing it, and I also occasionally can coax my players in with pizza or whatever I can get. Like, hey, you want to spend an hour, help me staple books for a minute? But I'm definitely much more efficient than I was when I first was doing it.
Oh, sure.
I mean, now we can get like, theoretically I could do maybe 50 sets in a day if I had a couple buddies over and we were all working on them. But it just depends. Printing time's the worst though.
Yeah, well, 50 sets in a day. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and that would be if we had like 2 or 3 of the players over to help staple and stuff, and I had already printed everything on the printer. But
okay, that's not including printing
yeah.
time and stuff. Yeah, that's just.
Oh yeah, no, I think
okay.
I don't think I could print that many in a day.
Yeah,
but
I just realized I had to go look you up on Twitter, and I looked on there, and I was gonna I'm gonna go follow him. I go, and there's a follow back button. I guess you were already following me. I didn't even realize.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, nice. No, I try to keep up. That's another thing that I've got to get better at is the social media stuff, because I was never a social media guy until
I've been doing it a lot with the business now.
Yeah,
dude, I don't want to say I hate doing it, but the thing I want to do the least is to try and convince you to buy something from me, So it's like, it's very easy for me to make posts about like, hey, come play the dungeon with us or join the Discord. But then the moment I'm like, you should really buy my old school game, and you know, along with the other games you've bought this year and whatever. But
yeah, I try not to do that. I sell my stuff. I obviously go to conventions, but then I sell my stuff through Etsy. And all I do now is when I add a new product on it, I literally just post a link to the product on there. If people are interested, they'll go click on it and go look at it. But I don't try and be like, hey, you got to go buy this.
Right. Well, it definitely, I mean, it's like sales wise, of course, it would be if I was on there every day doing marketing and stuff, but then it's like, in all honesty, I don't know. Cause when I see the guy that made it talking all this about their own game, it's like, you don't really know unless you come tried it. Yeah. But that's another thing we have on the Discord is, you don't have to own the game to come try out the game. So we have like our beginner character sheets have the rules that you need to play level 1 on them. And then of course you can bring in some classes and races from other games and mix them in. So
I think one thing you got to be careful too with social media, a difference between my business and yours, like mine, I can just post terrain stuff, and anybody that's into gaming, if they're interested, they'll go look at it. And I don't really get any, there's no bad press about it. But you can get people that, like, I don't know what it is with social media these days. If the game is not for you, then just move on, Yeah. Like, I don't play 5th edition anymore, but I don't go all over Twitter bad-mouthing it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fine game for the people that like it. If they're having fun at their table, they're doing it right. It doesn't matter what game you're playing.
Right. But
there's people out there that will see your game and be like, oh, this is based off of antiquated rules, and they'll just trash talk it for no reason.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's better to just not be public with it.
I've also found avoiding Reddit is one thing that I try to stay away from.
Solid advice.
Dude, I like to play my games, but it's I don't know. I guess on Reddit they're like looking for some reason to be mad at you for something.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but I don't know. I'm a fairly tame person, so I don't know. But they're mad at me for something. I don't know.
Yeah. Reddit's just an awful place. They just want to gang up on you there, and no matter what it is.
Do you have problems with such a big pool of players? So when you get new players coming in that are like only familiar with 5th edition, do you get players that come in and will actually complain about the rules?
Occasionally. I mean, it's usually if there's a complaint, it's mainly because they didn't understand a mechanic or something. We can talk about it, but we do have a little mitigation for that because I imposed a rule on the other referees so that I don't have to be the bad guy. But I told them that if anybody's like arguing mechanics in the middle of a game, then just deduct XP, like cumulative over and over. And that happens, dude. I've sat in games that are like 500, because it's like, we don't mind you arguing about it, but let's do it like not while we're trying to go kill the dragon.
So I asked because I mean Roger Ducato, they're both familiar with my plight with my regular group. I mean, we've been running these games. Some of these guys have been with me 30 years, and as they've gotten older, they've gotten more miserable.
Yeah.
You know, and as we try other games, they always want to argue the rules. And it's like, guys, just play the game and enjoy it. You know?
Yeah.
Yes, it is different than the last game we played. So what? You know? Try it and see what you think. And, you know.
Well, Mike, you're only 45 minutes from my house. So
I know. Well, listen, the weather's getting better, and if they keep it up, you might see me this summer.
You know.
Well, that's something that, you know, I'm not going to please everybody with my game. And then one of the benefits we have is that we do have some of the referees running other game systems that are still in this sort of connected world. So even if you do have maybe got guys that show up that they really just want to play Call of Cthulhu, so they only show up to that session, and that's, you know, do whatever you'd like. If we had a referee that wanted to run 5e, they're more than welcome to, and they can run it like their own little setting, and the players can go there and be superheroes and then come back or whatever. But I don't really mind it too much. I also came from playing 5e was my first game because it came out when I was 15 in high school. And that was the
You're
first.
Making us feel old now.
Yeah.
You're making us feel real old. Real old.
And granted, we didn't read the rules too well for the first couple years, which I guess is normal for 15-year-olds, but
it is. Yeah.
But that's also the reason why we started moving backwards, because it's like once we did get used to the rules and we were like, well, we don't really like the way it's actually meant to be.
I mean, listen, Roger and I are both running Shadow Dark, and we just had this conversation before we started here that we both did something wrong in it. You know, something that today I just found out I've been playing it wrong, reading the stat block wrong. Something as simple as that, but it's just a little different format than the games we're familiar with, and I read it wrong. And then when I told him, he's like, "Oh, that's what I did too." So yeah, people are going to get the rules wrong or play it their way, and that's normal.
Well, we also have some rule variations that happen between different referees on the server. I mean, they make all of that known. So, you know, one of them might be like, hey, we're just not going to use this thing that Matt came up with in Boogaloo 2, and I think it's stupid. We're not going to use it tonight. And it's like, okay. Or, you know, I think really the only things that we keep super set in stone between referees are like, if it's a character class where we're letting people play, you know, we're not going to like stop them from playing with the other referee unless it's a different like rule system. But the XP stuff is that's like the main standardized thing, because if you go and your character goes and plays the Call of Cthulhu game and comes back, he gets XP in the Barrows and Borderlands world for having done that.
Really?
Yeah. So and that way you always can level up by trying out different games. Sometimes you even get more XP for going and playing different games and trying them out, because that's really what we want to do, is get people into the idea of like, okay, we're having board game night. Like one of the other dungeons in the starting village, there's a series of 8 dungeons there. That this map is the one that I run. One of them's one that referees can come up with. There might be like solo play, but then another one is just the dungeon board game by Dave McGeary. So when we go in there, we just play the dungeon board game, and if you win, you get to leave with the treasure you got from the board game. Or another one of the dungeons is we call it the Dungeons of the God of Games. And so when we go there, you play any competitive like multiplayer game. So even if it's like Call of Duty on Xbox or something, we'll do like a match between all of us, and whoever wins gets some XP for beating all of us. But like when it comes to Call of Cthulhu and stuff like that, we have like in-game lore reasons why that works. It's an excuse, but like we have some of the worlds where if you don't change the rules, we call it like a direct portal to that universe. If you just change a few things, then it's indirect. And then if it's completely different, like when you go to Call of Cthulhu, you're a normal human on Earth. So we just isekai your character over there. So it's like you're John Cartering to it. But
I got a question back on the print stuff. Why the font change? Is it just because of the Is this like a permanent thing going forward, or is this just the font that you're using for the special edition?
Yeah, it's the one I use for special edition. I love both of them, so I needed an excuse to use it, and I was like, okay, well, I'll use it for the special edition. I did use it for Radioactive Boogaloo and Radioactive Tougaloo because I liked the way it looked on those two ones. I think I have. I'll grab. I printed a like a rough print of Tougaloo, even though it's not really ready for print. But all right. So this is the cover we have for that.
Okay. Yeah.
But and I did use an alternate font in here, but still going off of like the sort of typewriter like I did in Dracula in Space.
Yeah.
But
I was just curious.
Yeah, no, I like to play around with it. I get really nerdy about the fonts, but I also don't want to change it too much because it's got to have like a cohesive.
Yes.
So,
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So do you think that you'll, I mean, obviously you're printing some of this other stuff until you find another printer, but like if George and Dave, right, Emperor's Choice, if they said, hey, let's do a reprint, you know, are you like out on that? I mean, are you like, no, I'm not printing it this time?
That'd be rough. It depends on what it was. I mean, it's hard for me to say no to George and Dave, but they're just such nice guys. But they are, yeah. I think they would. I'd probably break down if they were like, hey, we're gonna do 4 through 9 now. I'd be like, no, no, can't do it.
We need a second. We need box set 2.
Yeah, what would that be? Almost 600 pages. Ugh. But no, I think eventually, like I said, the hope is if I can find a good printer that can do the exact same quality of what I do myself, then I will go with that. And then that way I can just continue doing it more and more and more. Because I'd hate to have to just move to the hardback books. But
sure.
I mean,
I agree.
There's like an obvious point where eventually I can't do all of the orders that come in, unless I was to get more people, in which case it's like, okay, do I want to focus on running the games with the people and writing,
right,
or do I want to be a printing press?
Yeah, right. So, right. That's where you got to really figure out where your hobby is.
Yeah.
And Mike and I have had that discussion with 3D printing, like you're either going to run it as a business or you're going to run it as a hobby, and you gotta make a decision on that and go with it. So
the only thing I miss about not running it just as a hobby anymore is I don't make as much stuff for myself. Everything I make, I end up selling.
Yeah.
But listen, retired at 49, being able to do this, just as a side gig now, and it fills my time. I enjoy doing it. So, I know some people are like, oh, once you turn your hobby into a business, it loses fun. Listen, I didn't go to conventions before this. This is what's getting me back into the hobby more.
Yeah.
We talked about all these different games that I'm interested in trying after 35 years of just D&D and now trying other games. That's because I'm going to these shows and seeing them and coming on here and talking with you guys about the games you're playing and whatnot. Because prior to that, it was just my own little group who didn't want to try anything else.
Yeah.
Last week we talked about it and we mentioned Call of Cthulhu on Sunday. That night, I got off the stream and I went and bought this off of Amazon because I already had the PDFs. At some point, they must have offered them either really cheap or free because I owned it on drive-thru.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just going to buy it on Amazon. Well, guess what? Amazon's here in Syracuse. It was delivered to my house the next day.
Oh, wow.
I showed Ducato and he's like, Jesus, that was quick.
Yeah.
But listen, I went through it. I knew nothing about this game. I went through it. I played the solo adventure, Alone in the Fire. And I thought it was great. And I'm like, cool, I want to run it. I went and got the PDFs for Alone Against the Tide, and I'm going to run that one for myself. You know,
Nice.
I showed it to my group. And then, of course, me, I got on Chaosium's site and pre-ordered the 50th anniversary slipcase.
Of course.
But yeah,
No,
I mean, I'm not going to go nuts. I'm not buying a whole ton of stuff until I've actually got it to the table. But
that I don't believe.
Stop it.
Hey,
not like
worst case scenario, you can come play with us too, because we do a lot of Call of Cthulhu stuff.
Do you?
So yeah,
there you go.
But yeah, that's one of the things I completely agree with you on that. It's like for me, I'm currently engaged. I'm trying to get married, and you know, it's not the best housing market right now. So and all these other things. So it's like, you know, my job, my other job is videography and then like stage work and stuff and video engineering, all that fun stuff, and 3D modeling. But you know, I've been doing more of the gaming stuff now, and now that we've got the big server with everybody on it, it's like, well, you know, it as much as I don't want to businessify my hobby, it does allow me more opportunities where now I do have this huge stock of players where, like you said, we're trying different games. We'll add like new worlds to the area and be like, this world is Broken Shores by Alex T, simply because we want to like try it out and play it and see how it goes. And you know, I'm obviously biased towards B&B because those are the house rules we settled on this style of fantasy, but we use all different rule systems all the time for different types. So
yeah.
And then like conventions, like you were bringing up, my first convention was Dave Con last year, and that was when I brought Barrows and Borderlands up, and now I'm going to be at like two or three of them this year. So I probably would not have done that otherwise. So
right, I never did them prior to that.
I think you know which ones.
Which conventions are you going to, Matt?
I think you know that if I did not come to New York, I would probably have 2 or 3 Yankees showing up and kidnapping me and bringing me up there. So
no comment, but fair.
But yeah, I mean, I plan on being at Dave Con 2 next month.
Where's
one of my players? It's Minneapolis or Bloomington. It's all kind of the same little area.
Yeah.
So, and then Arnicon is in the same place in October. So that'll be pretty fun. I think, yeah, I'm going to be a guest at Arnicon this year too. So, and of course, I'm going to be bringing this to each one I go to. So,
yeah, Matt, Death Angel Shadow is also in Tennessee, and he was hoping to hitch a ride with you, but then I think George mentioned that you were flying up. Because you already made the drive once and decided that wasn't for you.
Well,
now, granted, you tried to drive to Buffalo in December.
Yes,
not a great plan.
I did not know. I didn't know what a whiteout was. I didn't know what a whiteout was till we went to go drive back, and I was like, "Oh, so I get it. It's all white. That's why it's called a whiteout. I can't. It's all
white. You can't see shit. Then you kind of gotta drive by feel."
We snow like once every 5 years here, and it's like, oh my god, we got a quarter of an inch. Everybody freaked out.
Then the state shuts down. Yeah.
The sad part is, don't let them fool you. Buffalo's like child stuff compared to out our way.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Syracuse is the snowball champ every year for a reason. At 140 inches this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say their average is like 140, 144 inches or something like that.
I think we were like 40 inches above normal last month for this year.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's great. It's beautiful. It was like almost 70 today.
Hey, it's okay. I've got the great equalizer. Y'all just come visit me here in Charleston in August.
Yeah.
That'll be...
I'll die.
Thank you.
It'd be like 104 with a 90% humidity.
So Mike and I are in New York. And Decato's in Maine. So
I'm sorry. Yeah. Talk about cold.
Do you get as much snow up there, Decato, or is it just cold?
This year we got a lot of snow because I'm in the southern part of the state. We mostly we haven't. This is the toughest winter we've had in a while. We got a crap ton of snow,
Well, this was
but
pretty
for the
bad for us
last
too.
I don't know how many years we get rain. It sucks. Like it's the most miserable weather ever. Like I'd rather have 9 feet of snow than rain. I hate it.
I hate
it
rain.
Sucks so bad. It's awful in the winter.
Uh,
But we got a lot this year. We got pounded this year, and it was cold too.
I'll tell you what. If I didn't, I started many years ago. I take vitamin D every day, all year round. High dose of it because
the sun doesn't shine in New York.
I used to get really sick in the wintertime because we wouldn't get sun for months. I mean, no sun at all, and it was horrible. It is.
You can have some of mine. I'll trade.
Yeah, I'd like a little bit.
Dude, I step outside and I go. It's like, oh, I looked outside and saw what temperature it was. Okay, cool. Now I'm lobster red. You know.
Yeah. Tonight we're supposed to be getting thunderstorms tonight and all day tomorrow.
Yeah. We went to Disney World a few years back, and it was and I had planned it like a year and a half in advance, and so we got down there and there was a hurricane warning. I forget what hurricane it was, and we got down there the day the hurricane was supposed to arrive. So we got in, and then the next morning they had closed the parks. It was all windy and pouring rain, and so I went on Amazon and got delivered to the hotel a bunch of water and Gatorades and stuff and food and stuff to snack at because I knew it was going to be ridiculous down there. And then the weather came in. It was only lasted half a day, and then they opened the park up, and it must pass through. But it was cold, and by cold, it was 66 to 68 degrees, rain on and off, and I'm in a t-shirt and jeans walking around, and everybody around the park's half empty because they weren't allowing flights to come in and all that, and I'm in a t-shirt and everybody's walking around the cast members and all that. They're all bundled up with hooded jackets.
68. I think I'd probably still be wearing shorts.
68, and I'm walking around. I'm like, this is fantastic. And everybody's frigid. They're freezing. They're buttoning up, and I'm like, this is perfect. And it was high 60s, low 70s. The whole week we were there. The last day it hit 86, and that was the warmest it got when we were down there. I couldn't have asked for a better week to be in Florida.
Yeah, no,
perfect.
I was not made for the heat that I live in. I'm in a swamp too right here. So it's always it's hot and it's humid to go with it.
Yeah.
We've talked about moving as soon as the kids are out of school, but my wife's like, we're not going anywhere that's hot and humid because I can't take it. So I don't know. And let's be honest, New York is actually really nice, except for that winter, that long ass winter. So if you can deal with the winter and get through it, it's bearable the rest of the year. You know what I mean? Spring and fall are beautiful. Summer can get hot and muggy, but not like Florida muggy. So it's, I don't know. Maybe I'll just stay here.
I've been recently, my parents are starting to get into the idea of possibly getting the kids back together for doing family compound stuff. So that could be a lot of fun, but we'll see how that goes. We'll see if my fiance is up for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's so you're planning on flying up to New York?
That's the plan. If we get closer to it, and maybe it looks like maybe I'll take the Prius or something because it has good gas mileage. So, the thing that would get me is how much do I actually want to bring with me? So,
yeah,
if I'm flying and then when I went to Arnicon last year and I tried to bring a bunch of box sets with me in my carry-on and stuff, and it wasn't super fun. So,
I mean, you could always ship them.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you really want to, if you're going to fly and you want to bring stuff and you want to ship it to me or whatever, we can, I don't mind
that. Might do that.
It just
depends. I mean, a lot of times it's if I can make the 12-hour drive all in one go, or however many hours it is, then okay, maybe I can do it. But then, like, stopping halfway there and staying at a hotel, and now it's turned into a 5-day thing. Yeah, that kind of stuff too.
Well, I guarantee you that making the trip in June will be 10 times better than making it in December.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Anything is better than that Philly trip in January.
Oh, man. Yeah, like so January is when we went.
Oh, it was January. Okay.
Yeah, so it was like, yeah. The drive up there wasn't bad because somehow we missed all the snow on the way in. But when we left,
just on the way back,
we were driving down from Buffalo to Erie, and it was just the lake effect or whatever was following us. So
and you just can't see anything. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we had one night with a total whiteout. It was really bad, and Roger kept bugging me. Why don't you come out and play with us this weekend? I'm like, dude,
come out.
He's like, you got a new truck. I'm like, dude, no amount of you're not going to convince me to leave and drive in this for an hour each way on a Sunday night just to come play.
I drive out to see you.
Yeah, okay, I'm sure you would. Living in this long enough, I know when to just stay home.
Good times. But if you want to ship stuff up here, I know you'll probably fly into Buffalo and meet up with those guys and then drive
down with them
with George and Dave. If Albany or Syracuse is cheaper, they're like an hour and a half away. We can make arrangements to have somebody grab you. And,
I'm in Syracuse, so
it's Mike's in Syracuse. So if it's cheaper to fly into Syracuse or Albany, if it saves you a couple $100 or something, I mean, we could figure something out.
Yeah, I'll wherever the direct flight is usually what I'll figure out.
Yeah.
I'm about done with layovers.
I don't blame you one bit. I hate it.
We got stuck in Atlanta on the way back from DaveCon with a layover accident. Like the plane landed as the other had already left and everything, and we're like, oh well, guess our trip got longer. But
at that point you consider like renting a car and trying to just do it that way. I hate layovers.
Anyway, it works though. I'll be bringing the big dungeon with me and probably make a fun time of it.
We'll have to set up some games and stuff, and we'll make sure you got a good table there. So that'll be cool.
Hey,
just need to maybe have like 40 player. No, I'm just
kidding.
Roger, did you see what movie was announced this week?
Yeah.
It's right up your alley.
Are we talking about the new Conan movie?
Yeah, King Conan.
That they're gonna do. I'm cautiously optimistic. How's that sound?
Is it a thing?
It's a thing.
Arnold
wants to do it.
Is he? So, okay.
Is he over 70? Yes, yes, he is.
Huh.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
I mean, if 20 years ago, I would have said, "Oh, that's fantastic." 10 years ago, I would have said, "Okay."
Well, let's see where it goes though, because I don't know at 70 if he's gonna try and play it as he's the big action star or if he's the aging Conan.
Right. If he's gonna play King Conan, and there's not gonna be, then yes, I think it'll be fine.
Right, and it might be. It might be part of their way to try and pass the torch and continue on with the franchise, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It really depends on how they do it.
Yeah, right.
It looks like they might be coining it the third in the series. I was just looking it up. So I think it is supposed to not just be like a new take. It's supposed to be the next one.
Yes.
So that'll be good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm hopeful. I get really iffy about new movies. I wasn't
right because you never know.
Super into the new Death Stalker, so
I bought one of the greatest movies ever made this week because they came out with the new 4K UHDR version. It's based off the 32 millimeter originals though.
Transformers. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I've got to pick that up.
This is the special.
Choice.
This is the special edition with the 3 discs. It's got the 144-minute theatrical and the 120-minute TV edit. Plus, it's got the 4K Ultra HD, the regular Blu-ray, and a third disc with all kinds of behind the scenes. It comes with 2 posters in there, a bunch of cards, a bunch of stuff about a little booklet. I haven't even opened it yet, but I used to own the movie just on DVD, and one of my gamers years ago borrowed it, and it never came back. And
we will watch stuff like that on the server a bunch too. So I think in the past year I've seen Excalibur twice now. So
nice.
it's always a good one.
I got back into a kick. I never got rid of like my CDs. And now I'm getting back into this kick of building up my physical media again, because they've gone and started changing things. Like if you get on streaming services, they're changing the movies. They're changing music. They're taking older artists where, don't take this the wrong way, but like your generation or younger listen to some of the bands that we were listening to in the 80s and they go, oh, they sound like shit. So now there's studios actually auto-tuning this old music that's 40 and 50 years old. And it's like,
don't look at me. I'm not doing it.
No, I know you're not. That's why.
All Matt's fault.
No,
it's all Matt's fault. Yeah,
you're responsible for your generation.
No, if you listen, you're playing the old school way, so you're one of the good ones.
I'm one of the good. Yeah,
yeah.
We're gonna do Conan the Barbarian Friday night at the convention at CNY.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, George was telling me about that. Yeah. So I'm good to have my loincloth on, right? And
yes, absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
that'll be perfect.
Yeah, you come in costume. It's fine.
See, I can't dress up as my favorite. I like 7 Voyages of I almost said Xylothon. That's a good game though. The Sinbad.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Actually, I think I like Golden Voyage a bit more, but stuff like that's
next on my list is picking up any of the Ray Harryhausen movies.
Yeah.
Any of his stuff.
I saw this, Dave. I saw the new Thundar comic book. I did pick up issue 1. I have not read it yet. I will. I'll let you know next week. We can talk about it. Yeah, cool.
Issue 1s. That's
a awesome
gift from my fiance's uncle is a big comic book guy, and so he caught wind that I'm a Conan fan.
Nice. What Stephen Kennedy wants to know, Excalibur or Conan 1? Conan the Barbarian. What do you guys think?
Don't shoot me, but for me it's Excalibur.
Yeah. If I was to be like which one's the better made movie, I think I'd say Excalibur.
Yeah.
But character wise, I like Conan more than King Arthur, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough one. Conan has like a place in my heart. Like I've so I like lean toward Conan, but I think you're right. Like Excalibur, I think is the better movie.
I love the. So I actually used to do. I used to work as special effects in movies, and the Conan special effects, as cheesy as they could be sometimes, were really what got me interested in that in the first place. So.
Yeah, I like practical effects a lot better than CGI stuff these days.
Yeah.
And of course now we're going to run into a whole AI and everything now.
Yeah, actually, give me 5 minutes. We'll have our new Conan movie. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Stan, what do you think? Excalibur or Conan?
I have to say Conan, only because I don't think I've seen Excalibur since I was a kid when it first came out.
Okay.
I watched it. I mean, I watched it a bunch when I was a kid because there was all sorts of,
we're going to go to Mike's house and watch the
come on over
the Blu-ray special edition.
There you go.
You know what? I have not watched it.
What amazes me about it is when you look back at it and look at all the actors that are in it. People that you're like, oh my God, Patrick Stewart was in it.
Our group's been, and my fiance and I and the other players. We've also been watching more like there's the Japanese anime stuff. But there's one, the Delicious in Dungeon, where you can tell the guy that made it was just it's almost like his goofy home D&D campaign. It's really good so far. But I don't know if y'all like that kind of stuff, but the whole show is the dwarf, the human, the elf, classic basic fantasy D&D.
Yeah, cool.
And then they're just kind of making fun of it the entire show, and it's very hilarious. But that's another good one that we watching some on the server with. But yeah, we kind of flip flop. We're like, we try to find more new school stuff to watch, but I think that's one of the things that's really hurting my generation when it comes to having cool things, is that they're not really making cool things for us.
They're not.
I mean, we're not the ones making it right now. I mean, we're starting to be. I'm Gen Z. I'm too young for millennials, but the a lot of the media is either geared towards the older generation right now, but that also means that they're not making the new cool stuff for my generation. Like, we could have stuff that was just as cool, but they're just not focused on it.
You know, given the stuff that you like in your game, especially with a sci-fi slant to it, have you watched Krull?
Oh, dude, Krull is my Krull is my favorite movie.
I love that movie.
It's
a lot of people think it's really cheesy and they don't like it. It is a great movie.
It's the perfect amount of cheesy. When he goes in that cave and that giant white spider is in there, that's like, I saw that and I immediately put that in a dungeon.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. And then I'm trying to think of one we watched recently that I did like Galaxy of Terror too.
I don't know that one.
It's a sci-fi one, but it markets itself as a horror movie, but it's not really scary, you know. Mm-hmm. But it's got the cheesy practical effects and all that stuff. And then what did we watch recently? I really can't remember what it was now, but it was another one of those along the lines of like the Harryhausen type.
So like Clash of the Titans and Jason the Argonauts are two of my favorites.
Those are really
and I got to tell you, I just absolutely cannot stand the remade Clash of the Titans movies. They're just, I don't know. If you watch them, like you watch the scene when they fight the Medusa side by side, and it's like in the original, it's very atmospheric and it's all slow, and you hear the sounds and he sees the shadows and he's, you know, using the shield. And then you look at the new one and they're running and jumping and she's destroying pillars, and it's like a fucking Transformer movie.
It's a huge like action.
Yeah,
flick.
It's very different. It's very different, and I'm like, that's not.
I like the original. I remember going to the theater and seeing it, and I do like the remakes. One of the best things I liked about the remakes was when they shit on the mechanical owl, which I didn't like as a kid either. So I was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah. I bought. We played our first Ravenloft 2nd edition game Friday night, and I had a character get totally murked by a cloaker. And the way we described his death was, it was like in the Beastmaster movie where they had the winged devourers would wrap around people and they would just devour them, and they would just drop like bones and metal. And that's pretty much what happened to my paladin. So I went and bought Beastmaster for like $5 on Amazon afterwards, because that was one of my favorites as a kid, the first one.
Was this first level characters?
No, he was 6th level.
Is that what you guys started at 6?
We've been playing them. We've been playing a series of the modules, and we just we tried it at first with Castles and Crusades, and it didn't work. And then we did Old School Essentials, which worked for the most part, but there was like a little bit of power level distance between 2nd edition and OSC. So this time, the third time, doing another module in the series, we just went straight 2nd edition.
You're doing the Hycosa scrolls, right? You're doing the Grand Conjunction.
Yeah,
that's what it's called, the Grand Conjunction. All those modules together for the plot.
Yeah.
You're playing them out of order. Because if you play them in order, the levels run all over the place. Like the first one might be 5th level, the second one might be 1st level.
Yeah.
So a lot of people rearrange it so it works.
I want to say we started 1st level, but then we were like, for this one, we actually bumped our characters up a couple levels. We bumped them to 6th level.
Did you start with Night of the Walking Dead?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but
Ravenloft is my favorite setting. I have 3 box sets. I have 1,000,000 of the splat books for it.
Oh, you'll love Matt's module. It's Space Ravenloft.
I know. I saw it.
I saw that. I was
Dracula in space. Yeah, I love Dracula in space. It's my favorite game to bring to conventions a lot of times now because it's like, it takes me all of just the title for you to know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so, and then I had fun throwing in,
Lost him.
Lost me.
Oh, there you are.
You lost her for a second.
There you go.
Blinked.
Someone's eating my internet. No, I'm just picking. She's playing video games next to me. But no, we Dracula in space. They show up. It's like my modules are known for being a little weird. So I get really into like one of the rooms in the spaceship is a mahogany like parlor room. But I don't know if any of y'all have seen the old it's called Memories. It's a like a 90s animation movie. But there's a scene in there where they go in on the spaceship and it's just 18th century parlor room. And so, and then like, obviously I do a lot of alien stuff with my games. I know some people aren't a big fan of mixing their chocolate and peanut butter together, but I am all over it.
Yeah. I kind of like it if it's done like, I don't know if it's done well, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's hard to kind of put a finger on that. But like you see some things like that's just a hodgepodge of stuff just for the sake of being a hodgepodge of stuff. I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying this, but like to me, like that's what Shadowrun is. It's just this kind of conglomerate of stuff that's shoved together for no reason.
Well, when one of the things we talk about, like when the referees and I will make stuff, because I know there's like what I've noticed is that the younger guys usually like the term gonzo, and then the older players hate the term gonzo.
Yeah,
that's because usually the older players are like thinking like Fear and Loathing,
Yeah.
So and the newer guys just have never heard of that, so when they just think gonzo means weird, but when we come up with new stuff for the world, we're like, is this goofy that we mix this together, or are we doing it because we think it's cool for there to be like a robotic dragon, stuff like that. And that's usually like the one stipulation is if it's ever goofy, we don't do it. Like with the Dracula in space module, there was never just like, oh, I just put him there to put him there. We had he's like building hybrid lycanthropes down in the basement levels of this. It's almost like the Alien movies, more so than the Dracula castle movies. But then like one of the locations in the world is this ancient city created by this old AI from old Earth known as the Perfect Being, and it's guarded by these 100-foot tall kaiju robot angels and stuff. And we get into that and we're like, oh, that's an awesome mix of the fantasy and sci-fi. So we do have some things that are funny but not goofy. I think goofy is really the thing we try to avoid. I think that's what happens a lot with those games where they're just, okay, 2 genres, boom, smash, for no reason other than to mix the genre. But
that's part of what's kind of I've got Dungeon Crawl Classics and Mutant Crawl Classics sitting here, and I hear lots of stuff about them. The reason I really haven't tried them is because and I might be totally wrong on this because I really haven't read through them. Something about them just seems goofy to me.
Yeah, I think Mutant Crawl Classics is a little more goofy and gonzo, I think, than Dungeon Crawl Classics is. But DCC can still get a little.
I know their adventures are pretty gonzo, to use that term. A lot of their stuff is gonzo, and it just, I don't know. I bought it at the first page because they always have their show special. It's $10 for the soft cover, so I bought both soft covers, and the guy gave me the quick start adventure that he had there, and I bought some dice with it just so I had a set of the the weird dice. And I thought I'd try it, and they've sat there. That's been 3 years now.
Yeah.
Which is how most of our books on our shelves are, right, Roger?
Yeah, right. The DCC Lankmar stuff is pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it is pretty good.
That's
one I'd like to see is a Fafnir Grey Mauser TV show.
See, I don't have any of that, but I have the Savage Worlds Lankmar stuff. Only because I found that dirt cheap at one of the flea markets for like $10 for 5 books and a bunch of map packs, and they were all in shrink wrap. So I'm like, yeah, I can't pass that up.
Yeah, I used to run a lot of DCC, so I mean, I'll run some DCC one shots or something. Like
it's a good. I like their spellcasting system in there. It's a little like tracking it on your character sheet can be a little rough, but actually using them is quite cool. With that's another one of those roll to cast games, but the
but it gets is real swingy in a hurry. Like
that's when we were originally trying to do some roll to cast stuff, we were trying out the DCC roll to cast. I had not found a roll to cast that I liked until we were just playing Chainmail, and in Chainmail 3rd edition you roll the 2d6, and I was like, I actually like doing this much more. And I didn't mind the one in Shadowdark when we were playing Shadowdark stuff. There's a few really good ones, but yeah, the 2d6 is what worked for me. But you brought up the Lankmar stuff. That's another one where I see like Fafnir Grey Mauser and Conan as both being science fantasy more than just fantasy.
Sure.
Because they do come across aliens in both of those, and a lot of those weird tales. Zothique's like that because Zothique is set in the far future after the sun is like dying, basically. And so that's the kind of science fantasy stuff I like, not necessarily for some reason there's robots,
Yeah, right. Mike, I think Rooster is he's the one Ducato that's running through the Ravenloft stuff. Mike, this is the list of that he's running. Started them in Night of the Walking Dead, the movie Finger of Death, and now they're playing Dark of the Moon. I don't know if you saw that.
Nice.
So
yeah, it's funny because when you talk about D&D had its fair share of crazy gonzo stuff. I mean,
yeah, sure.
Like the Blackmore stuff had all kinds of this.
Yeah. Sure.
You see them laser gun,
barrier peaks and all that stuff. Yeah.
Right. That was a moment of contention for Dave Arneson. I was talking to Bill Hoyt, one of the Blackmore Bunch players, about it, and he was like, when they were doing wargaming and they were doing Ancients, Dave Arneson would referee, and then he'd pull out a ray gun in the middle of a game, and it's like the old historical guys would hate it and stuff, but he really loved the mix of the. Well, that also goes back to in the 30s and 40s and even 50s when those Weird Tale magazines were coming out. You get to them, it's not really a mixture of science and fantasy. Science and fantasy were the same, like the sci-fi.
The same genre. Right. Yeah. Sci-fi fantasy. Yeah. There was no like hard split like there is now.
Yeah. And
one of the things I like about the Hyperborea setting is like that. Jeff Talanian, and even the books, like they're fun to look through because you'll see they'll have a piece of art, and if you just glance at it, you're like, oh, that's cool. That's a knight fighting, and then you go back and really look at it, and you're like, oh, that's a knight with a laser pistol.
Yeah.
Or that's a dude with Chewbacca's bowcaster shooting. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool,
See, that's the stuff I like too. Hyperborea's adventure modules are also lots of fun.
Yeah.
When Hyperborea was on my shelf of 30 books of what we would like to mix together when we didn't have a system to call it, and stuff like I like the way they do their saving throws, but really those adventure modules. So when I made like Bears and Borderlands, I had to make sure that no matter what, I could always run those modules without changing anything while running.
I have a whole stack of them. I'm gonna hopefully run. They're great.
They're so much fun.
See, I don't have any of them. I backed the 3rd edition Kickstarter, so I have Late Trapper's Lament, but that's all I have.
That's a good one.
We've never gotten it to the table, so I never bought any more stuff. But again, it's something I would love to look at. And I've been on this journey here with my players, trying to find things to that they seem to like, and they seem to argue everything. So I'm kind of at the point now where I'm like, you know what? I think it's just time to go back to running my second edition campaign. And if you want to play it, join the table. And if you don't, beat it. Go find a different game, because I'm sick of trying to make people happy in my group.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I love the stuff that we talk about, all those adventures. I run second edition. I can run Hyperborea with it. I can run first edition stuff with it. I can run DCC adventures with it. And there might be a little bit of conversion here and there if something's a little different, but otherwise they just run easily. And
that's what Barrows and Borderlands was for me, was getting that, because it was like I wanted OD&D but compatible with all these things,
right.
and then some things sort of worked into it, and especially now, like the Arduin stuff, because I saw Arduin and as being like, if any of y'all are video gamers too, is like the biggest expansion pack for OD&D.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it plugged in so well for B&B that it was just like immediately we had 300 more pages to play with. So, but we're talking Hyperborea. In our home campaign setting where we have the Fernum and the Borderlands and all that, we have Hyperborea floating around Kronos.
Nice.
So you can just fly to it in game.
Nice.
That was important for it, because that world's really fun too.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like
I considered
new to discover, and
I considered doing like, now we're using Shadow Dark in my game, but I considered trying to like rebrand some Blacklight by the Victor Gorchev there, and that's like special ops. I don't know if you're familiar with the game, Matt.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I haven't played it.
But I ran that. It was a blast. It was fun. But so I was thinking about running like, because there's portals and stuff in there where you can go to like different worlds, and so and that's kind of like what you're doing with stuff. But like, I've always liked the idea of doing like a mixed genre kind of thing, and that's always kind of been in my head, that my world's really part of like a mixed genre world, but it's separated by barriers. So but it's so like, I like the idea of having like Blacklight characters like come over, and like, I don't know, some of my players, I think, if we're in the fantasy game and all of a sudden a portal opens up and a bunch of spec ops comes through with with night vision, they're in a dungeon, right, and all of a sudden here comes spec ops and starts shooting down goblins or whatever.
So I have modern soldiers as a random encounter in the Dungeons of the Fell Lord too, and it's like,
nice.
It's that same sort of thing. They're like, what are you doing here? But the that's also one of the reasons I have the Borderlands region, where it's like all this radioactive stuff in between these other nations in this apocalyptic world, because then you can have like the tribal guy from the middle of the Borderlands who is just the Conan figure. He doesn't use guns. He's just got a big sword. Pairing up with the dude that comes from outside the Borderlands from the Empire, and he's got flintlock or a musket or something, and he's coming in. And then the old sorcerers, where they banned guns, because why do they need them? They can do spells and stuff. And
yeah.
And then somebody finds a sentient robot down in a dungeon, and now he's joined the party because he's left over from a bygone world. But,
yeah. No, that's cool. And that's definitely something that I would want to lean toward, but I don't know if my players would be like down with that.
Yeah,
like
it's hard to get them in.
Thing,
I when I was getting my players into it originally, I had to like ease them into it. So it was like, okay, we're doing basic normal fantasy, and then eventually they'd find like strange black mirrors down in the dungeon, and then they'd slowly find more stuff like that, and then eventually they were like, oh, this makes sense. We're finding robotic parts, okay, and then they're just, next thing you know, they're into it.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. Like I always loved Expedition to Barrier Peaks, and like that was like my, like when I played that, like that was one of the first modules. I Keep on the Borderlands was the first module that I played through, right? And I love that. And then Expedition to Barrier Peaks, I really latched onto that and was like, "Oh, this is awesome," because it's got the sci-fi in my fantasy, which was just why is there a line separating these things? So that was great, and that's like I kind of want to do that, but I don't know, people get you know they don't want spacemen in their fantasy, or whatever.
Yeah.
They want to keep that separate, and yeah, I
I
don't
used
know
to be like that.
what a hard ass.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
used to be like that. I didn't want chocolate in
Used
my
to?
peanut butter. Yeah, used to.
Oh, okay.
Used to.
Yeah. Now you're different. Now you're okay with it all.
Well, I've come to realize talking to you, I think you're more one of those like fake hard asses. You play the hard ass, but you're not really one.
Aw, that's sweet.
You project the image. You try to project the image, but really you're just a big softy on your players underneath.
Sometimes I am, yeah.
I know.
Sometimes
okay.
I am.
That's okay.
Although the 3D6 down the line thing, that you can argue that with me, but
what about it?
That's
you don't like it?
No, I love 3D6 down the line. You're the one that fights against that.
No, I did three.
What if my fighter has an 8 strength?
Hey, wait a minute. I did 3D6 down the line. Our thief has the thief that died had a 5 dexterity.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
The cleric.
You were no, it wasn't the stats. I'm sorry. It was the hit point thing that you went psycho on, and we're talking about giving max hit points at first level.
We rolled hit points too.
Crazy.
You gotta come up with something.
Hey,
we rolled.
Don't worry, Roger. I give max hit points to the monsters.
Oh, nice.
That's about it.
So when we played AD&D, they wanted to go max hit points at first level. So I said it'll always be max hit points for monsters.
Yeah.
And they were okay with that.
Yeah. Well, so I do use max hit points for monsters when it's stuff like a dragon or a giant, like the big crazy things.
Sure.
I don't do that with goblins. It depends. I mean, a lot of the times though, it'll be like if I roll up. I think the other night we had like 11 gargoyles show up to the party, and they were all max hit dice or max hit points, and none of them could be touched by anything but magical weapons. That was kind of a brutal fight. So, but
yeah,
it just depends. I like to mix up because like slimes are probably like my favorite monster, but I also have to throw in some really, really weak, stupid slimes that are just basically punching bags. Let them have that little moment in the random encounter table. Is it a Balrog this time or a tiny little slime?
I love like gray oozes, or like they've been like my thing, and so I would always put them into like places, but now it's to the point where my players have called me out on that, and like they just know. Like when there's like a little puddle or a little pool or a little fountain or whatever in a room, and they're always just like, "Oh, there's an ooze in there. Next room."
You need to get I think maybe Chaosium has them as PDFs that all the world's monsters. There's a bunch of new little slimes and oozes in there, like the velvet slime is really cool. Mm-hmm. They got like glowing eyeballs sticking out of them or whatever, and then I know in Arduin they've got a bunch of like the blue slime, the gold slime, a bunch of those in there, but then they also have one of the greater demons. I think it's Cal something, but he's the god, or he's the patron deity of slimes, and his whole thing is he walks up and just touches you, and it's like a save or turn into a slime, and his main attack is he's throwing slimes at you.
Nice.
I love him.
Awesome. I definitely got to have him show up.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I've been leaning. I was leaning for a while to run like some of the older stuff. like OD&D or first edition was kind of like where I wanted. I started with BX, so that's kind of where I like to be. And I tried to run basic fantasy for my players, just because the books, are cheap, easy to get, and I bought them for the whole table. And they didn't, I don't know, it was okay for a little while, but like they didn't like, dying and, and like they felt that they weren't getting anything at level ups, just more hit points. That's it. Um, and so, I wanted to go back to like first edition or OD&D or whatever, but, that's kind of like more of the same, I guess, of that, and not to shed bad light on it or whatever. I like it. I'm fine with that. And, I know I'm the GM, but like, I even like playing that stuff. I'd rather play OD&D than the newer stuff, obviously. But, yeah, I don't know. Just sometimes people like the older stuff, you don't get anything every level up. So that's kind of why we're trying Shadow Dark.
Yeah.
We did CNC for a little while, and we had some issues with that and stuff. I think it's a great system. It's a great game. But then, like we switched to Shadow Dark, and it's like at least every odd level you're rolling on the chart to see what you get. So you're getting something.
That's what you need to do is maybe you need to work in the compatibility guides to get so the player that likes using the Shadow Dark class can still run that, while the other person that likes the BX way of doing it can run that.
Yeah.
I'll send you some of the things we use for it. But
yeah, I was looking at some of them online. I think you had some of them on the website.
I have a couple of them. I need to rewrite the Shadow Dark one. I just think I could spell it out easier because we've been doing it more often now.
Yeah.
But then, there's on the Discord too. I talk about Hyperborea and Axe 2 using those classes, like, and then I'm trying to think. The really popular one right now is the classes from the are the classes from the Nebulith Lamentations of the Flame Princess supplement, because everybody loves Oriental adventures, so they've got like samurais and ninjas they can pull in, and I think they did it quite well. So I've had to make a little conversion guide for every single one of those classes because those are just fun.
Yeah, I think everybody at my table would want to stick like with one system.
Yeah.
Even though they'd rather be, like to do, to bring in a class from another system or whatever. I mean, I think that would be fun, but I think that, I think players at the table would have an issue with that.
I get in my head, I think about us going to different worlds all the time. So we're just playing all different systems because I'm like, well, you could just play one week and one the next. But I know that's not something that a lot of groups want to do.
Yeah.
We have one of the portals that we go to is just it's just OD&D plus chainmail as well. And that way, like, that's sort of our King Arthur Pendragon type setting, is like plain OD&D, nothing else but what's in the 3 booklets and chainmail.
Yeah.
Which not every player in the Discord is going to want to play.
Sure.
So,
right.
Just depends.
Yeah. That's interesting. That you have worlds that are just based on like rule sets.
Oh yeah, dude. We've got like the Barsoom. When we go there, we do the Sword of Cepheus system, which is like Traveler basically. And then for the wargaming there, we use the Warriors of Mars TSR supplement.
Yeah.
All that's really fun.
Now, I can't speak to the quality of it because these guys know I have an issue with them. But if you're looking for additional Barsoom stuff, Trollord Games is working on a Barsoom RPG.
I did hear about that. Yeah. I'll check it out. I mean,
I'm sure it'll be filled with editing errors and all kinds of their usual, but for a resource, it might be something that you can find something else you like out of it.
Like the one that we've been playing, or trying out with it, the Swords of Cepheus seems to do quite well for the John Carter sort of fantasy. And then as far as like the world setting, I mean, I just go off of what I remember from John Carter and Princess of Mars and all that. So, which you can get really deep into that stuff, especially if you start going into like comic books and stuff like that. I've got an old John Carter up there. Yeah, Warlord of Mars. But
Cool.
But yeah, no, we either do a world. That's where the whole direct, indirect, and isekai type of portal is. It's an isekai if it's like a completely different game system world. So you can't use the same. Sometimes it'll just be like your character wakes up and the other world felt like a dream to them, and this one's now that idea I got from Fafhrd and Grey Mouser as well. Whenever he did Adept's Gambit. So that, and I think it's one of the best sort of like retconny. How did they like? Why did I call this Alexandria instead of Lankmar in this version of my books and stuff? But they basically go through the tunnels of it's Ningobel's like domain, and they come out the other side, and it's like they started speaking Greek instead of Lankmarian, and I love that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's neat. I love those stories. I love all the Fritz Leiber stuff, the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser stuff.
It's so good.
Particularly, it's just awesome. And that, like for me, like when we switched to Shadow Dark, the players like instantly clicked to let's go in the dungeon, and they go in the dungeon and like literally they're counting pennies and counting stuff like what they can sell. Say, hey, okay, at this point, if we sell all this stuff, we can go binge drinking for a night. You know, like we pool our money together, we get 100 gold, we get a +1 on the roll or whatever. And like it brought me back to the, you know, because that's how all the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser stories, you know, started and ended with them broke in a tavern. You know, you know,
they found some ruby the size of a dude's skull, and then somehow they're broke by the next adventure because they spent all on
right, because they went to the tavern and they were like, you know, top shelf, give me that and that, you know. And so like doing that run in Shadow Dark has really been, it really brings me back to that. It's been
there's a, I think it's free, but there's a Hyperborea pamphlet that they have on drive-through. That's also, it's a drunken debauchery table for that. You could probably use that in your Shadow Dark game as well as like an expanded list of things, carousing stuff.
Probably,
Hey, Decado. I'm in.
You what?
I'm in. You started an online game. Yeah. I'm in. All right.
Yeah.
There you go.
How our play of DCC Lankmar happened was I had extra copies of the novels, and I gave them to one of my friend Chris, who's in my group, and he loved them. Like, he reads a lot, and he never read them, and he was into them. And then he was at our local game store, Crossroad Games, and he had no idea there was an actual game, and he saw like it up on the shelf, and he was like, wait a minute, I recognize that. And then he was like looking at it, he's like, oh, I gotta have that. So he bought it, and then that's his jam. Like, we're playing Saturday, he's gonna run something DCC Lankmar for us, and I think they did a really good job with it too. Like,
they did.
And I got to geek out because it's, you know, I'm not an expert, but I am familiar with the stories and stuff. So like when we're running around Lankmar and he mentions like a certain person, I'm like, oh, freak, that guy, you know, the player is like, oh, I know who that is. It's a lot of fun.
I have a really dumb gripe about it because I love the DCC Lankmar stuff. My one dumb gripe is that when I was going through the Thieves' House in one of their books, I don't remember it being that layout, and I checked, and I don't think it is that layout in the actual Fafhrd and Grey Mouser book. But that was like, that doesn't really matter that much. But I was reading it because I was running the adventure, and I was kind of not looking at the map too much. And I was like, yeah, if y'all go this much further, the wizard's chamber with the checkerboarded white and black floor is going to be right there. And I look in the book. Oh no, it's not. They moved it somewhere else.
I can give them credit too, though. I mean, that's obviously different, but like they also did a lot of like research like going with the Liber Estate and that stuff to like put that all together.
In the 30s,
really good stuff.
In the 30s, they gamed in that world with it was fantasy wargaming, but they were Fritz Lieber and what's his name, Herbert. I can never remember his last name. Anyway, that Fawford and Gray Mauser group, that they were wargaming in Nuon back then.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, they had a huge table set up where he had sort of built out the continents with raised platforms and stuff. And later, TSR released the Lankmar board game, which was based on his rules of how he did that back in the 30s. Neat little thing there.
That's
hard
awesome.
to get your hands on now, but yeah, it's a neat
bet,
little
yeah.
game. But
yeah, that's cool stuff. Yeah, I love all that stuff. The DCC Lankmar, I think, is probably the best DCC kind of setting product, I guess, or that's out there. I think
I'd probably say so.
I might just be because I'm really into Fafner and the Gray Mauser, but I ran a post-apocalyptic game with DCC, and I used the American Survival Guide by Reed Sanfilippo because I didn't like the way that MCC went with things. So the thing I ran is more like Thundar type of thing.
That's cool.
And that's kind of what I ran. Yeah.
Awesome.
And that was fun. The only problem with DCC and running like that in that campaign is that the spell casting gets out of control in a hurry.
It does. Yeah.
Because you're adding your level and whatnot. And like, we had like a cleric that cast blasts on the party like before a big battle, and he rolled like, I don't know, like a 28 or something on the roll, and it's like everybody got like +8 to hit, +8 damage, +8 AC. It's like, okay, great, like they're just superheroes now, and like cool.
Well, in Barrows and Borderlands, there's 12th level spellcasting. It's sort of the core. That was inspired a lot by Aerolotus's Necromacan book. And then recently in Tugalu, we talk about like 30th level magic and stuff like that. But what really happens is, because there's no spell that you can't obtain as a player, because you don't gain spells on level up in Barrows and Borderlands, you have to find them. Like you could go the whole game with just the 3 spells you started with, and you're a 10th level mage for some reason. But that means if you find that 12th level spell scroll and try and learn it, first of all, it's going to be extremely hard to learn based on the rules. You have to roll to try and learn magic during your downtime based on your level and all that. But anyway, let's say you do get it. Even if your character was a 12th level caster trying to do it, he's probably only going to be able to get it on like a boxcars roll. But that also means your first level character can try to do it with rolling double 6s, and then it's going to get delayed 7 turns or something. But then that critical miscast of the snake eyes, it's like a 6 in 12 chance now. So, but yeah, that's how we kind of mitigated it with using that chart for spell versus level. But it has been kind of neat sometimes where it's like it's 2.76% chance, I think, or 2.73, one of the 2.7 something percent chance on 2d6 to get a 12 to get it.
Yeah, it's something like that, because it's 1 in 36.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
So the times where it does happen winds up being really interesting and cool. But
yeah. It's just like with DCC, it just gets, like, I mean, your results are the results, like your spell results are the spell results.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and obviously with DCC, like you get a 35 on on like magic missile, and you get 1,000 missiles that all do 1d10 damage, to somebody 500 miles away or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's just
exactly.
It gets ridiculous. Or like the example I like to give is like you cast darkness, and you might blow out a candle, or you might blot out the sun for 6 weeks.
Yeah, something crazy. I like stuff like that, and then that's why I did the critical miscast table.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
made it very long.
It's cool. It's cool. It's just like when you're trying to run like a campaign, and like everything ends up so swinging, and because you're adding the level to the spell check, and you can use luck and all of that, it get like you're rolling higher, numbers, and so you get those ridiculous results like constantly.
Yeah,
and it's hard to like have those in effect, and then you have like an evil spellcaster like cast things, and you get different effects, and now you've got like just these crazy things that you got to track. Like, okay, the sun's blotted out for 6 weeks, and and all these guys have +8 on everything they do for for the next day or 24 hours or whatever it is, and
we had the sun get eclipsed in our campaign a couple weeks ago, right before that vampire fight, because somebody was doing one of those necromantic rituals, and every game that we ran during that blot out sun time was that all the referees collaborate. So it's like, by the way, as we start, the sun's gone. Continuing.
Nice. Yeah, Steve says that he likes what this Matt guy's putting down. It gives me a lot of hope for the next gen gamers. Yeah, they got this. I don't know about they got this. I think Matt is one of a few.
Well, I'll say one thing. My daughter, who's 18, she's run a few games now. She started running 5th edition. She asked me what to run. And at the time, I gave her my 5th edition player's handbook because that's what all the kids are playing now. She ran it. She ran a campaign with it. Told me she didn't like it. Said there was too much stuff. And then she ran Castles and Crusades. And now, of course, she asked me if she says, if I was going to play another game, I know you're not playing Castles and Crusades anymore. What do you recommend? So she's, 18-year-old girl running a group for, she had a mix. She had 2 different groups. One was all teenage girls, and one was a mix, girls and boys, all, her age. And, they all liked the Castles and Crusades versus 5e, which gives me hope.
Yeah.
My son's the same way. He's 21, runs like Dragon Slayer's his game.
Right. I think once you just expose them to something different, they'll look at it and be like, oh, this is, 5e. 5e, people like it because you're just a superhero and could do whatever you want. But it gets boring,
Yeah.
It might be fun at first. Even me, when 5e came out, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. As a DM.
I ran a ton of it.
As a DM, I later on short term though.
You get into the high levels with it, it's awful.
Yeah,
it is.
I've noticed a lot more people playing the old school stuff. I mean, it's a niche of a niche of a niche, but whenever I go to the game stores, and the 5e groups can't get any players because even 5e. I mean, it's a large barrier of entry, and not everybody's into the style of fantasy that they're going with there. But if somebody shows up to my table, I'm like, hey, look, if you've got, I'm not going to make you sit through 2 hours of combat and listen to Matt the whole time. You give me 15 minutes, we'll roll you something up, and then give me an hour to come hang out, and we'll go in this dungeon, and you can be a dude with a sword and go kill monsters, and that's it. It's a lot easier with an old school game to get them to do that.
No, if you want to attract more of them, you could have a new expansion called like Baristas in Borderlands. And
there you go.
Well,
it's
interesting.
Go ahead, Matt.
I was just saying, like a lot of the guys that show up and play, or girls that show up and play, they're people that wouldn't normally play because of how 5e is, but now they're like, oh, you're telling me I can actually do what I thought D&D was.
Yeah. You mentioned barrier to entry, and that's so right now I started a couple weeks ago that my daughter's 13. We homeschool her, and she's in a homeschool group, and so there's a bunch of kids between 12 and 18, like 15 or so, and I'm teaching a class. I guess I'm doing RPGs for 6 weeks. So the first week I did like just a history thing, and kind of went through like the history of wargaming and all the way up to present day. And so like I'm like showing them different systems, and I got Troll Lord sent me some stuff, from Castle of Crusades. I got some stuff, some Shadow Dark stuff. I got some of the white box medieval fantasy RPG there because I think that's a good, because it's like $5, to buy the book. So I bought some of that. So I'm gonna show them like a bunch of different games, and it's the barrier to entry thing. Like there's this one kid that like he just started like working, doing side jobs, for the neighbors and all that stuff. And he like saved up like all his money and he bought, he spent like 200 something dollars on the 2024, the set of 3 books and the, dice and like, the whole thing, an adventure. Like he bought, I think he bought the one of the starter sets, the Dragons of Ice Peak or what, Ice Spire Peak. And it's just like the barrier to entry to, there's a huge financial barrier to entry. And then there's also like, once you're past that, now you've got 1,000, 1,200 pages of stuff that you need to digest just, so you could turn around and teach that to 5 other people.
Yeah.
So then you can actually play the game. And,
Cool.
And I'm trying to like get these kids to see like, hey, you could take this game that's like $5 or $6 and you can read this in, 15, 20 minutes and learn it. And then, you just know it and you can play it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
White box, Old Sword Rain, Basic Fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all great.
That's what I tried to do with, so Bears and Borderlands. The main how to play book, the Men and Mutants book, is 76 pages.
Yeah.
But even that was like, okay, you don't need to know all that at the very beginning. That's why I did the printout at home and I bring them to conventions or whatever, the beginner character sheet. Because it's like, it's much easier for me to be like, all you need to know for now is just what's on that piece of paper in front of you. And anything else is only if you like it. It's not a lot of times at the table, if that's too much, even like if somebody's really not sure if they really want to sit down, I won't even do the whole character sheet thing. They'll just come. I'll sit down and be like, you want to be a dude with a sword or a dude with spells? Okay, here, I'm either going to give you 2d6 or I'm going to give you a d20. And then I kind of, a lot of us that run the old school games, we know what a first level fighting man or fighter does.
Yeah.
So they don't need all that.
Right.
But,
yeah, no, it's interesting. I've heard you mention that before, that you don't run, people with that they just play themselves or whatever, and they pick, fighting or
Rogers.
That's definitely an interesting way to do it. Yeah, yeah. And there's some games that kind of do that, like Roll for Shoes. It's a D6 game that it kind of get better at doing stuff. But yeah, no, and I've sat down at conventions and ran, with just index cards and pencils, and you just kind of, because you just know, like, oh, okay, well, we'll do everybody's a 3rd level thing, so it's like, oh, 3rd level fighter, like, okay, well, you figure they got a strength bonus and they got okay, so you got a +5 to hit and you do 1d10 damage, like, here you go. Like, that's it. Yeah. And you're close enough, even if my guessing is off, like it's going to be off by 1 or 2, which is 5 or 10%, right, on a d20, which doesn't matter really in the big course of things.
And you got to think too, at conventions, people are showing up there to play the games, but especially at the local game stores, it's like that might just be some guy that was in there looking for Pokemon cards, and it's like he just happened to have an extra hour of time, so I'm not going to waste his time by making
rolling up
something, and it's not going to waste my time by teaching somebody how to play that doesn't actually want to.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. And like, 5e, like you give somebody that character sheet and it's like, oh, what button do I press here? Like, what's the
analysis paralysis?
And you look at everything there, and there's just too much going on. whereas like with your game or OD&D, it's just like, yeah, there's a 6 stats, 7 stats, 8 stats, I guess in your case, right? Because you use comeliness.
I don't even give them that if they're brand new. I have some of those as optional ones, but even with that beginner character sheet, the only race on it is human, and the only classes on it are fighting man, magic user, and cleric. Yeah, and whenever I describe the class to them, I'm not going over mechanics. I go, this is Conan or King Arthur or Aragorn or whatever. This one
guy with sword, guy with weapon. Yeah.
This one's Merlin. This one, and then with cleric, I'm like, this is Solomon Kane or whoever. But and then usually the hardest thing that I get are actually the 5e players that are wanting to try out something new, but then they've been told stuff like, oh, Thaco's scary, it's but
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
And I like Thaco because I think mainly it has a certain vibe to it that's fun. I don't really have a good way of convincing you that it's better other than I like it.
But I find
what I figured out. Go ahead, Mike.
I just make it. I have a character sheet that I use with my players that literally has, 10 to 0 to -10.
Yeah,
and you have the number you need to hit that. And I still have players that have played AD&D for 30 years that still somehow struggle with that. I'm like, dude, how are you struggling? It takes long enough to level that your stats don't change for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time. I don't know how, you write it on your sheet and you just go with it. You know what you got to roll, but there's still people that struggle with it. And I don't know. I don't get it, but
it's interesting. We've had players at the table.
Yes.
That's basically that chart. We've had players at the table. Now, I'm fine with either, right, Thaco? Like I can understand why a lot of people have switched to ascending AC. Okay, and I appreciate that. So that's what I use for the most part. But there's something to be said, right? I've had players, characters at the table or players at the table that will roll to hit. They're a fighter. It'll get to their turn. They'll roll the D20. They'll flip through their pile of papers in front of them and like try and do the math, like 3 + 2 + 1. And I'm like, dude, it's a +6. You roll the 14. That's a 20. Just tell me 20, and but then every time it gets to their turn, it's like they got to roll and they got to do the math in their head. And with Thaco, I found that, yes, you have to do the math and figure it out. But once they do the math and figure out, like the answer to the equation when you figure out Thaco is the number that you have to roll on the die.
Yeah.
And then when it gets to their turn again, they can just roll the die and they know, oh, if I roll a 12, I hit. And then there's no math involved. They only have to do the math once, at least for that one enemy.
There's players that will do that math over and over again every time. Like they forget it.
I know, but I think it's easier with Thaco. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel the same way about ascending AC because that's what I do when I play. If I know, if I roll and the guy's AC is 18 and I've got a +8 to hit, I'm not doing that math. I'm just trying to roll a 10 or better. I do the math once.
Yeah.
So even this here, we made this back in probably like 1990, back on my old Amiga 500 at the time. I had an
matrix printer.
No, I had an LED printer actually. Thing was beautiful.
Wow.
This is on like silky. This is an original. I have like a couple of the originals.
Wow.
Still. It's on silky paper. It's real nice. I can't find paper like this anymore. But even on this, we put on the back, we put a combat chart.
Yeah.
We put like every weapon is listed there with a Thaco next to it. It wasn't numbered out, but it was the Thaco for that weapon. It figured in for whatever bonuses you had, and maybe, and then they would have their number, and then it was like literally just subtract it, guys. It's it.
Well,
you got
something else too. Is it's like so in the base Barrows and Borderlands, I put like a chart in the beginning of the book of how to convert to not to use ascending armor class for folks to do it, but you're bringing up like when we get to your turn or whatever. I also do a lot of simultaneous combat stuff. So that definitely helps with having 20 people at a table. So
Sure.
when combat starts, I do, combat declaration. All right, raise your hand if you're hitting with your sword and not moving. Okay, raise your hand if you're if you're shooting something and not, that kind of thing. And then as soon as we roll initiative and figure it out, I go, everybody that's, stationary melee, everybody roll your dice at the same time, all your damage at the same time. If you hit, then I will give you attention. If you missed, we're not even gonna talk about it. But
yeah.
It takes the time away from having to go to each person.
Yeah, what do you want to do? You do, trying to adjudicate each, one person at a time. That's how I plan to do it with the kids when I start running. Like when I run White Box, it's basically gonna be everybody's gonna go at once. Everybody roll, like you said. Okay, who's attacking? Everybody raise your hand. Okay, who's who hits, how much damage, and then go to the next thing.
With the online games that we do, it's even easier because we use a little. It's like a little how do I put it? Like a little sheet card online, and it has stationary melee, stationary magic, or whatever, and your name next to it, and you just click the whatever checkbox what you're doing. When I see everybody declare actions, they all go click, 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 roll d6, nice. And then we know exactly what everyone's doing just right there. That makes it really fast, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. Wow. Yeah.
But when we do it in person, I still have to point and figure out or write some things down. But I usually do tally marks for that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm hopefully just gonna do it, pretty quick. I kind of wanted to show them like different initiative systems, going from like a D6 side base to like, Shadow Dark that, whoever gets the highest, then you go clockwise. But I think with a large group, that's just going to be too difficult.
It depends. I will switch it up sometimes depending on what they're fighting. So, obviously, super mass combat, I use chainmail. But when we get into like some of the boss fight stuff, or if they're at a part of dungeon, it's like, okay, this is the Balrog room or something. We might do weapon priority, where it's kind of a countdown. Yeah. Right, everybody with pole arms, or like everybody who's glancing and that kind of thing. You go now, and it'll all be simultaneous with.
Do you have weapon speeds?
Yeah.
In
or not weapon in the combat section of B&B, you'll see alternate initiative systems, and one of them is the weapon priority list that just has fastest weapon priority to slowest, and then you get you can just go down that. Now I also have in there like you can use the character's dexterity to affect all that, but if you still want that to be faster, you can just do it based on that single chart and be like, everybody who's glancing, go. Everybody who's doing a spell of 1 through 4th level, go. And then it's all, that means the monster works into that too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
So I put a couple different initiative systems in there. And that's because I like to change it up. Because sometimes you want to do, if you're in that boss room, you kind of want maybe some individual initiative as well. If every strike matters. I know Arduin also has, in the Arduin Adventure, they've got the CF count in there. And then it really does become like, based on your stat, how many times you're going and at what moment are you going. But then you do get really nitty gritty when you get that deep into it.
When you're starting to get into like the segments and all that stuff.
Yeah. So
then the timing. I think all that stuff is neat. From first edition, weapon speed, segmenting things, all of that, like it's really cool, but I think it gets too much. There's too much going on there. Where you just can't.
As somebody that's run first edition and second edition forever, I know you're not a fan of second edition. I think initiative was greatly improved. I like weapon speeds and casting times. I like doing away with the segmenting though. It just it runs better. It runs quicker. It's easier to use. That's my one of my biggest issues with first edition. If you're going to go back and run first edition and play it by the book, initiative sucks. It
well,
really does.
I think like a big part of it, right, is back in the day when I was playing first edition, we were playing for, 9 to 12 hours on a Saturday.
Same.
And, we didn't really have jobs, or we had part-time jobs, or our job was, helping the old lady next door with her garbage and then shoveling, or mowing lawns or whatever, so we would just play. So it didn't matter if combat took, if you took hours to figure this stuff out. But like now, we've been talking about, I've been running Shadow Dark, and it's boom, 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 boom. It's quick. Yeah. And everything in Shadow Dark, especially with things like the torch timer, it's great because I'll go around the table and I'll point at somebody, and if that guy wants to start flipping through his pages and try and look up and add his number up and figure out, the rest of the table is like, come on, dude, the sand timer's running. We got to, so the torch is running out. We got to go.
So you want to know what the fastest combat is? Definitely, and we do use this too. Actually, we used it more in one of our universes, is B&B, the game, but we replaced the entire combat system with chainmail for this universe. It's a Beyond Drifter Zero.
Really?
Yeah, and so when we do that world, it is the fastest combat because you're just rolling a number of d6s equal to your hit dice.
Yeah.
So, whatever you fight as in chainmail, fourth level fighter is a hero, you're rolling 46. If you have a bigger weapon, you fight as heavy foot. And then there's armored foot above that, and then light foot. So you have your fights as and defends as, and it is just the fastest thing. You just go and say, all right, turn just began. Everybody just roll a handful of d6s, and you tell me every time you hit a 5 or 6, blah blah blah, and the monsters rolling at the same time, and then your fight with a dragon ended in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Now we don't do that all the time because it does. There's always a give and a take with abstracting the game. That's why I include multiple initiative systems, because sometimes we want it to take a little bit longer and we want to get nitty gritty. Other times we want, okay, this is the third time we've run into goblins. I want it over right now. Oh, we lose him.
We lost Roger.
Technical difficulties.
He was hit with a paralysis spell.
He said, and then he disappeared.
Back?
You're back.
Yes.
I think so.
Oh, boy. Yeah, because all of a sudden, everything froze on my screen. That's why I said,
He lost initiative.
It was just you freezing.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. Yeah, it said lost connection. Had to.
The only downside I see to Shadow Dark is there are times playing the game that I do miss some complexity in the system. Sometimes I feel, too many things are just glossed over to simplify it. Yeah. Which, I mean, there's times when I would rather, I know, obviously it adds magnitude of complexity to the character, but I love the second edition Thief. I love the fact that you got 60 points to spend.
Sure.
Right. You're a halfling, and these are your base stats. And then as a thief, you get 60 points to spend, and then as you level, you get another 30 points. And you get to build the character how you want. Versus,
but that's not what Shadow Dark is.
No, Shadow Dark is you're gonna roll a dex check with advantage because you're a thief.
Yeah,
and that's it. OSC, you're gonna, if you use their alternate system, you're gonna roll D6s for them, and it's a D6 system.
Yeah.
So that's,
and there's definitely times for both. It's just growing up playing it, I do miss the complexity in some of the stuff.
That's also what got me with, because I've run Shadow Dark before, and that was one of the things that sort of didn't keep me with that game, was I was just always rolling the same dice no matter what I was doing, and doing the same but that's sometimes, like you said, it's got its place in sometimes, which is why I did with B&B, it's like, okay, if you go just these things here, it's super simple. You're not going too far out. But then you can, in our campaign, get into mana casting and get as complex as you want. And we've still got little guides to make sure everything kind of works mostly. But, because like I said, there's guys that show up to the games and all they want to do is roll their D20 and know if they hit with the sword. And then even the casters want to just roll some dice.
Did every edition of D&D prior to first edition did clerics not get a spell till second level?
Yeah, I give them spells at
so.
first level though.
You give them spells at
that's
first?
BS.
No, I do. But here's the thing: they have to go find the spells for the rest of the game.
Yeah, well, yeah, right.
So they start with 3 spells, and then okay, good luck after that.
So they don't even the clerics. They don't get them. They have to find a scroll or whatever.
They have to find
scripture,
holy scripture, scrolls, or they have to go join a clerical religious guild and learn from a master there.
See, I like that because that's something I introduced to my game was holy scriptures.
Yeah,
I told him, I'm like, I don't like the idea that the cleric gets everything, automatically handed to him. I said, so we introduced a system where it was, holy scriptures or Bibles or whatever.
That makes sense. That makes sense because they're tasked with going out and finding their God's holy artifacts that have been lost, or whatever. It makes complete sense.
We have
I get that.
We have a Catholic witch hunters guild in the Borderlands right now. It's just run by Fox Off RPG, but his whole thing is he sends guild members out to go find these holy relics and go find holy scrolls and texts and stuff. And then, but we also have some classes that get a little into not really complexity, but strangeness of the Sorcerers of Blood and Godflesh is one of the classes in Boogaloo. And they're like biopunk. That I don't know if you remember Guyvers from the 90s, but they've got biotechnic armor and a bionic weapon.
Okay.
But they get into when they level up, they're rolling some dice to see how they can upgrade their armor and weapon and implements and stuff. And so they're always doing some sort of complex thing when they're leveling up. Versus, fighting man is, I get better with sword.
Yeah, right. How do you handle that when say Fox Off says, hey, you got to find these artifacts and stuff now they're out there. So that means now it's on you and other DMs. Do they go to you and say, hey, I sent this group out or this group wants to go out and find this artifact, and then you come up with a dungeon or say, oh, hey, on the 5th level of this dungeon, there's this artifact.
So usually, and at this point it's a little different now, but the game started with, okay, I spent time to set certain things there already, like rumors and stuff like that. And as the first players started playing the game with me, with them, it was much more, hey, you know that this is out there, or you've heard of this, or because you're new to this world. But now that we're at the point where a lot of the players know a lot about the world, especially the ones running the guild. And so they've been playing the game and they've heard of these items over the years or whatever. And they already know that they actually do exist somewhere. And I have already placed them somewhere. But also, let's say it's something new, like Fox comes to me and he's like, hey, look, I want to try and find some new scripture. I'm trying to do it. He can spend research time while the game's running, where now the first thing he'll do is he'll send people out, or he'll even maybe send some of the NPC members of his guild to go research libraries or just go explore to catch rumors. And then whenever he gets something, he can be like, oh, this guy came back to me. I got good rolls. I invest enough money and downtime to research it that there is, in fact, somewhere out here, a Holy Avenger sword lost in the dead zone or something. And then he might go, okay, now I'm going to go reach out to the players and see who wants to bite. There is this weird balance for the referees in the game where obviously we can't prep the entire world, So,
sure.
But we do have loose notes on 90% of it. And then 20% is really, really honed in. They've been in there a lot of times. But the loose stuff, a lot of the referees, it might say something like, there's a Holy Avenger in the dead zone, period. That's the entire lore of that hex or something. And then if somebody's interested, then we will prep it once we hear about somebody being interested. But
is that so? Is there ever a point where you've like decided that something's too powerful? Like, I mean, like a Holy Avenger is like a good example where, like, you know, maybe a DM puts that somewhere or whatever, and then and then a character gets it, and then now it's like, is it a problem, or do you just say, oh, okay, well, there's a bunch of demons now that are trying to hunt you down because they want it, and then you just try and
that's an easy
that way.
It's a little bit of an easy one now, because at a certain point it fixes itself with domain play, because when they get powerful enough, they're like, ooh, I don't want to risk him anymore. Now I want him to be leading armies, because
be in the castle behind these thick walls.
Yes, I want a castle to protect this powerful item. Or he'll go out to an adventure and he won't bring the Holy Avenger with him, because he's like, if I bring it and I die, someone else has to go get that for me. And this is my best character. There's another. This one's definitely worth the note. There's a note that Hargrave had about it, actually, back from the 70s, that I thought was really interesting. Let's see.
Hargrave, reading through while you're looking that up, the Hargrave flipping through some of the old Arduin stuff is like the same thing to me, like going through like the first edition DMG. You find these great little nuggets of information that's there that's just really cool.
Yes, you do. I found out from working with George Dave, because before I made B&B, I never heard of Arduin, but then I come to find out he was running a game very similar to mine, with it being multiple referees and in a shared world, like an MMO style, but out of his game store.
So you just copied him then?
Oh, right, yeah. So I retro time travel copied him, went back and started it.
Yeah.
After reading about him. But this is what Hargrave says about like giving too powerful an item. It's in Welcome to Skull Tower. It seems a lot of people like power swords, force blades, energy sabers, monomolecular filament edge swords, and the like. Well, I guess that I'm as guilty as anyone on this account, because a couple of years ago, I gave out a sword that had an edge of mu mesons, which cut across the magnetic lines of force that bind atoms together. Wow. George, the character that received the damn thing, went on his nonchalant way, wreaking utter havoc wherever he went, on friends as well as foes. One DM after another saw his most cherished ugly get blown away without even a fare thee well. It got to be so that nearly no DM or other player in the area wanted to see George headed his way. It was obviously not a good situation, but as it turned out, one of my fellow DMs had the answer. George was sent on a terrible quest by his patron god. He must fight his way down 13 levels to the very bottom of a dread and feared dungeon, and if he survived, he would be enlisted among the ranks of the demigods that surround all the other mighty of gods. And if he failed, well, that would be that. To everyone's surprise, George succeeded and is now in the ranks among the demigods. There are also a couple scrolls that summon him in the world, but now he's a demigod. So
yeah.
And he says, George is happy, the DMs are happy, and I think I learned my lesson. Now, where'd I put my lightsaber?
Yeah. So basically the character's is now basically an NPC.
And that's usually done with the choice of the player character. If I made the mistake of giving you something way too powerful, then oops, but eventually the game just stops being as fun for them to walk around with that in the same way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know. I have like some players that I think would like revel at the chance. Like they wouldn't know. Like they wouldn't stop. Like they would just want to walk around and, be unstoppable. And like, I don't understand
maybe gods
that.
Come to challenge them. Who knows? But
yeah.
But you brought up too, like, how do they hear about some of these items? Well, some of the dungeons in the world too are built by these more powerful players to hide their treasure. So one of the characters, Maxilla, he paid for and built his castle, and he hexed. He drew out every level of his dungeon and his castle and paid for all the traps and everything. We're actually publishing that later this year, but and now he's got this. I don't even know how many rooms is in it. It's a huge mega dungeon basically. But players are actively all the time like, well, I'm going to go steal Maxilla's stuff because I know he's got a Staff of the Magi, or I know he's got a Rod of Resurrection. Like, we need to go, and he's he's like an evil cryomancer. Like, who's going to feel bad for that? So, if he didn't do that, they could steal those items from him when he's not paying attention.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I can get my players into doing more of that kind of stuff, but we'll see. Like the domain play stuff and all of that.
It's a lot of fun if they like it.
Some of them will do it, some of them won't. I considered doing like a larger domain play thing where I've got like several powerful characters around and basically just giving each of them one and say, give me weekly orders for this guy, or like, here's this guy's goals. Like, give me.
You could start him with a Brownstein.
Like doing a bronze. I considered doing that. But the world's kind of already developed. I mean, I guess, I could just hand out those players or whatever, or have them create new ones.
Well, imagine you could do like if you were doing Lankmar or something, and you had a bunch of crime families, and the heads are meeting up for Brownstein, or you could give them like, okay, you're going to be the king of this nation, and then do that. I've done that in our world. We do Barrowsteins, we call them, every once in a while, and it gets people a chance to try out, like, oh, domain play could kind of be like this, like I'm this powerful leader. And then after the Brownstein's over, they'll usually be like, can I keep this character? Can I keep making decisions for the kingdom? Yeah, sure, go right ahead.
Be careful, Griff might come after you for calling it a Barrowstein.
Well, yeah.
I'm good friends. Well, the I think I stay out of the argument on naming and all that.
So do I. I think the whole thing. The whole thing is ridiculous.
You're better off. There's
The moment I sense what's the word? Drama or copyright, I back away 30 feet and do something a little different.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, I did have a lot of fun up at Arnicon and DaveCon getting to play in Brownstein 1 and 4.
Yeah.
The Banania one. It was pretty good. But I think I liked 1 more than Banania.
Wesley is fantastic to talk to.
Oh my gosh.
I talked to him. Oh my God. I talked to him for like, I don't know, 4.5 hours at GaryCon one year. And I kind of helped him pack up like one of his games. And we were out in the hallway just sitting talking. We're talking about platonic solids and old wargaming and Lou Zaki and Gary and Dave and I mean,
nice guy
Tigos. We were talking about Totten. I mean, we just went on.
Did you get a Strategos in?
Just I got a copy that he mailed me. He was going to find a copy. He didn't have any copies.
Yeah,
he couldn't find any copies.
He brought some to Arnicon.
He photocopied it and sent me one.
That's
so.
But
so I have that. Yeah.
Another one of the really nice guys from that Blackmore bunch is Bill Hoyt. Like, he's really fun to talk to.
Yeah. I haven't met him in person, so
he's really good. He occasionally he'll come and do like a Empire of the Petal Throne game and stuff like that. But
those guys are great to chat with and stuff. So everybody really in this industry is really fantastic. I think to talk to. Everybody's really kind and wants to help out. And Griff, I talked to Griff a bunch. I've talked to him on the phone and stuff, especially about planning a convention. And
lost him again.
Am I still here?
You're still here. I just can't see you. There you
are. Great. Oh my God. Well, we're past we're 3 hours and 15 minutes here. Normally like 3 hours is our is our max over here. Mike is getting tired.
No. My son just walked in and he said something to me, so I muted it and took my headset off.
Oh, all right. So
3 hours is never the max. What are you talking
about? So, Matt, thanks for joining us. I don't want to, I don't want to keep it. Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. It's great to talk about, the game and everything else. I know we had you on before with George and Dave, and between myself and George, it's hard to get a word in.
I love George. You give him a dime, he gives you a quarter. It's awesome.
Well, sometimes George will have a phone call Dave is there too usually, but I can't prove that because he doesn't say anything. But between George and I, like, we'll just keep talking and talking and talking.
And I think George has the I think George doesn't want the conversation to end or doesn't know how to end it, which is awesome. But it definitely leads to those. We call them George calls now.
Yeah, so. Yeah. No, and I'm guilty of that too. We when we do gaming here upstairs in my game room, the front door that's downstairs, I can only lock it from the inside, so I'll have to follow the last person out, and I'm generally like talking, and they're like trying to back away slowly. Like, I'm leaving. But yeah, I'll talk a lot too. So
you,
but yeah, me, yeah. Ducato.
I mean, and if you haven't noticed, Ducato and I have sat here silent most of the show. Well, Roger just, you're the special guest. We want to hear from you. Roger's like, I'm going to talk too.
Yeah, that's true. I think I let Matt say a few things.
Yeah, you did.
I've done a lot of talking. I also talk a lot. So I get the you like to talk from folks around me, but yeah, no, I had a really good conversation, guys. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, so we'll see you at Central New York.
Yeah.
These guys will be there. Ducato's going to be painting stuff.
I might have Mike's to get in your game.
Yeah,
have all of his stuff.
Make a couple characters.
Make my wife and daughter run the booth, and I'll come play in your game.
There you go.
There you go.
That'll work.
There you go. It'll be great. So thanks everybody out there for coming. Any last words, Matt? Anything else you want to say to anybody, or anything you want to plug?
Out with the well, I mean, obviously, I won't say no if you want to go buy Barrows and Borderlands. It's at barrowsandborderlands.com. I'm also on drive-through, so I've been enjoying the Lulu print, but they're both really good. But otherwise, game on and perish. Dun, dun.
There you go. And on that note, we'll see you guys on the other side. We'll see you guys next week.
Have a good one.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.